Chapter 824. Good. Wu Yong nodded and quickly took out the image crystal. Battle chi gushed out and entered the image crystal. At the same time, Qin Feiyang also retreated to the side. This way, when the Tianxian city lord appeared, he would not be discovered. A moment later, a middle-aged man appeared above the image crystal. Pagoda master? This person was about 1.8 meters tall and had a thin body. He wore a golden robe and his dark eyes emitted a shocking sharpness. When he saw Wu Yong, this person was slightly stunned and asked, "Pagoda master, where are you?" Wu Yong glanced at Qin Feiyang and said, "Don't worry about where I am. Answer me first. Did anyone go to snatch the pill fire?" The Tianxian city lord was stunned and asked, "Are you talking about Qin Feiyang?" Wu Yong looked at Qin Feiyang again. Qin Feiyang nodded. What is this person doing? Wu Yong was puzzled. He looked at the Tianxian city lord and said, "Yes, it's him. I didn't see him coming. There's no movement in Tianxian city either. I think Qin Feiyang doesn't have the guts to come to Tianxian city." The Tianxian city lord laughed. "Don't be careless. Since he dared to say so, he will definitely take action. Watch carefully," Wu Yong warned. "Okay." The Tianxian city lord nodded. "Then that's it. Remember to inform me immediately if anything happens." After Wu Yong finished, he turned off the image crystal and looked at Qin Feiyang, asking, "What now?" Qin Feiyang said, "Inform the big shots in the Pill Pagoda to immediately set up an ambush in Tianxian city." This. Wu Yong was completely stunned. Looking at Qin Feiyang's appearance, he was determined to obtain the pill fire in Tianxian city. But why would he do this? Did he not know that when those big shots arrived in Tianxian city, he would have no chance? Or did he actually give up on snatching the pill fire in Tianxian city? He couldn't understand. He really couldn't understand. What was this person planning? Qin Feiyang said, "Don't ask anything. Just do as I say." "All right." Wu Yong took a deep look at him. His battle chi surged out again and flowed into the image crystal. A short while later, a white-haired old man appeared. The old man was sitting cross-legged in an alchemy room. He was dressed in pure white clothes and had a benevolent look on his face. He held an ancient book in his hand. "Oh, Wu Yong. What's the matter?" The old man in white looked at Wu Yong and asked with a smile. "Elder Wang, I have bad news," Wu Yong said solemnly. The white-haired old man was stunned. He put down the book in his hand, stood up and asked, "What news?" Wu Yong said, "Qin Feiyang has escaped from the Black Dragon Glacier and is on his way to Profound Heaven City." "What? He actually managed to escape?" The white-haired old man was shocked. Wu Yong said, "Absolutely. This is no small matter. Don't worry, guard the Profound Sky Flame well. I'll immediately report this matter to my superiors," the white-haired old man said. "Hurry up. The old woman beside Qin Feiyang is too strong. With my strength alone, I'm afraid I won't be able to guard the Profound Sky Flame," Wu Yong said solemnly. "I know. I'll urge them." The white-haired old man nodded. He immediately turned off the image crystal and contacted the pagoda master of the 6th area. The news of Qin Feiyang escaping from the Black Dragon Glacier was spread layer by layer. At the same time, Wu Yong also put away the image crystal. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "What do you want to do now?" Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Give me the coordinates of Profound Heaven City." Coordinates? Wu Yong's heart trembled. He was right here. Why did this person want the coordinates? If he wanted to go to Profound Heaven City, he could have led the way. Could it be that this person wanted to make a move on him? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. No, he had to strike first to gain the upper hand. Now that Yen Wei and Fatso were not here, if he launched a sneak attack, he would definitely be killed in one blow. "Are you sure you can kill me in one blow?" Qin Feiyang raised the corner of his mouth, with a trace of ridicule. Damn it. Wu Yong's face changed. He was too nervous before and completely forgot that Qin Feiyang could now see his inner thoughts. Now that Qin Feiyang knew, what should he do? "I don't care. In for a penny, in for a pound. I don't believe that he can really kill me." Wu Yong gritted his teeth and suddenly rushed toward Qin Feiyang. His eyes flashed with strong killing intent. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled, saying lightly, "Do you know? This is the worst choice you've ever made in your life." After saying this, his eyes turned cold. With a slight thought, Wu Yong immediately stopped in the void, holding his head and crying like a ghost. He felt that his head was about to explode. Waves of indescribable pain crazily attacked every nerve in his body, making him wish he was dead. "What on earth did you do to me?" he roared, his eyes full of fear, because he had already felt the aura of death. Whoosh! At this time, Yan Wei flew out of Tianyang City and landed beside Qin Feiyang. He glanced at Wu Yong suspiciously and said, "What happened to him?" "Of course I have to teach a lesson to disobedient people." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and asked, "How is it?" "He's dead," Yan Wei said. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "By the way, do you know the coordinates of Tianxian City in the 4th region?" "Yes. When I was young, I liked to experience. Except for the 9th region, I've been to the other 8 regions." Yan Wei nodded. Qin Feiyang smiled. This was really a case of wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by chance. With Yan Wei by his side, Wu Yong had no value. "Please don't kill me. I'm willing to be your slave for the rest of my life." Wu Yong was also desperate. If Yan Wei didn't know, then he still had the capital to negotiate. But now the last bit of value left was taken away by Yan Wei. Would he still have a way out? "Haha. Why didn't you say you'll be my slave just now?" "Now it's too late." Qin Feiyang shook his head and directly shattered Wu Yong's soul. "Ah!" With a shrill scream, Wu Yong died on the spot. His body quickly fell on the plains below. What's going on?" Yan Wei next to him was dumbfounded. He didn't see Qin Feiyang do anything. How did Wu Yong die? Looking at Wu Yong's body, Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and looked at Yan Wei. "Now I can tell you, what is that mark?" Yan Wei heard this and looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. "That mark is called the enslavement mark. It can control people's souls, including beasts. Once controlled, you can crush the other party's soul with just a thought," Qin Feiyang said. Enslavement mark. Yan Wei's body and mind trembled. It was actually so terrifying. No wonder Qin Feiyang wasn't worried about him betraying him. He had the confidence to do so. "No matter how far away it is, it can erase the other party's soul?" he asked. "Yes, for example, even if you return to the 8th area, it would be easy to kill you." Qin Feiyang nodded. Heard it. Yan Wei's last shred of hope was mercilessly obliterated. It seemed that he wouldn't be able to escape in this lifetime. "Actually, you don't have to do this. Following me will only allow you to go further." Qin Feiyang laughed. Yan Wei didn't say anything, but the doubt on his face explained everything. "You don't believe me? Then I'll tell you now. When you break through to the 9-star war saint, I will give you a great fortune." Qin Feiyang said. Yan Wei shook his head. What kind of fortune could a 7-star war sect give him? Without thinking too much, he asked, "Where are Fatso and the others?" Qin Feiyang said. "They went to the 3 major tribes. Go and collect some of Wu Yong's blood." "Why do you want his blood?" Yan Wei was puzzled. "Then let me ask you, do you have the ability to break into the Pill Pagoda?" Qin Feiyang didn't answer but asked instead. "Definitely not. Every Pill Pagoda in the 9 regions requires the blood of the current pagoda master to open," Yan Wei said without hesitation, but halfway through he was stunned. "Look at my head, I'm confused." "I'll go now." He slapped his forehead hard and smiled awkwardly at Qin Feiyang. Then he swooped down and landed beside Wu Yong. Then he cut Wu Yong's wrist and took out a jade bottle. After collecting half of the bottle's blood, he buried Wu Yong and returned to Qin Feiyang's side. He handed the jade bottle to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang took the jade bottle, looked at it for a moment, and then kept it in his Qingquan bag. Yan Wei looked at Qin Feiyang, hesitated for a moment, and said, "I have a request." Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. "Do you want to go back to the tribe to take a look?" Yan Wei nodded and sighed. "I've been away for half a year. I don't know if there are any changes in the tribe." Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "It's human nature, I can understand, but you'll have to wait a little longer, Because I have something important to do. Something important? Yen Wei was stunned, a little curious, but tactfully he didn't ask. Whoosh! About half an hour later, Fatso Wolf King and the double-winged snow eagle were finally back. How was it? Qin Feiyang smiled and asked. Fatso chuckled and said, it was a fruitful trip, but their alchemy fires are all grade 5, they're useless. Grade 5? Qin Feiyang was stunned, he was puzzled. He remembered that the alchemy fires of the White Cloud Tribe and the Black Cloud Tribe were all grade 5. Logically speaking, as one of the 3 super tribes in the third area, shouldn't the grade of their alchemy fires be higher? Yen Wei looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously and asked, what grade of alchemy fire do you want? Grade 6. Qin Feiyang said. Last time in Pei Zhongfeng's Qingquan bag he had already found a grade 6 alchemy fire. Now he only needed 2 more to upgrade the Nether Devil Flame to grade 7. And the grade 7 Nether Devil Flame could help him refine the small creation pill with 6 veins and the 9 transformation dragon blood pill. The success rate would undoubtedly increase by another level. Yen Wei said, there aren't many grade 6 alchemy fires in the third area, except for the Pill Pagoda. Then which area has it? Qin Feiyang asked. The 6th and above area. But it must be very rare. Yen Wei said. Qin Feiyang nodded, he knew this. Grade 5 and below alchemy fires, although not common, were not difficult to find. For example, the Temple of God's Elixir Hall had them on every floor. But alchemy fires above grade 5 were rare treasures of heaven and earth. It was very difficult to produce one. Phew. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and sent Fatso and Wolf King to the castle, then said to Yen Wei, follow me. Whoosh. Chapter 825. A moment later, the 2 of them landed in a snowy forest. Qin Feiyang glanced around. Seeing that there was no one around, he took out an illusory form pill and handed it to Yen Wei. What? Yen Wei did not understand. I want you to pretend to be Wu Yong. Qin Feiyang said. Pretend to be him? Yen Wei was slightly stunned, but did not ask any further. He took the illusory form pill and threw it into his mouth. Very quickly, a brand new Wu Yong appeared in Qin Feiyang's line of sight, and even his cultivation was suppressed to the same level as Wu Yong. Next, Yen Wei found another purple robe and changed into it. This way, there were no more flaws. Qin Feiyang looked up and down, nodded and smiled. Not bad. At the same time, he also took a disguise pill and turned into a tall and sturdy man. Then what's next? Yen Wei asked. Qin Feiyang laughed. Of course we're going to Tianxian City. Yen Wei said in shock. You really want to snatch the pill fire? Can't I? The cold ice flame and the heavenly thunder flame are already in my hands. Of course I have to continue. Moreover, even if I don't snatch it, someone else will. Qin Feiyang said. Someone else? Yen Wei was stunned, and asked in surprise. Who? A person who is courting death. Qin Feiyang said with a cold smile. A sharp light flickered in his eyes. Yen Wei looked at him deeply and shook his head. Your situation is really complicated, but I have a small request. There's no harm in saying it. Qin Feiyang laughed. Yen Wei said. Can you not peek into my inner thoughts? It makes me very uncomfortable. Qin Feiyang laughed involuntarily and said, Of course, I'm not a peeping Tom, but the premise is that you can't be disloyal. At this point, do I dare to be disloyal? Yen Wei smiled bitterly. Qin Feiyang smiled. Suddenly he seemed to have thought of something and said, By the way, there's something I want to ask you. After saying that, Qin Feiyang took out the ice blade and said, Have you seen this saint artifact before? No. If I had, I would have recognized him back at the Black Dragon Glacier. Yen Wei glanced at the ice blade and shook his head. Qin Feiyang frowned and asked, Have you heard of someone called Pei Changfeng? Pei Changfeng? Yen Wei pondered for a while and shook his head again. No, who is this person? Is it important to you? Qin Feiyang took out Pei Changfeng's identity token and handed it to Yen Wei. Yen Wei took the identity token and glanced at Pei Changfeng's name. Then he turned it over and looked at the other side. Totem. Immediately, he looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. As someone from the 8th area, he naturally knew what this totem meant. I don't know which tribe this totem belongs to. As for Pei Zhongfeng, he also died. That ice blade of mine was something he left behind. Qin Feiyang said. He has a saint artifact and a totem. This person's identity is definitely not simple. And in the 8 areas, I've never heard of a tribe whose totem is a giant python. Yin Wei said. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said in surprise. So this Pei Chongfeng is most likely from the 9th area? Possibly. Yin Wei nodded. The 9th area. A bitter smile appeared on Qin Feiyang's face. Originally, he wanted to find out the cause of Pei Chongfeng's death and avenge him. But he didn't expect this person's identity to be so mysterious. Let nature take its course. He sighed, put away the identity token and the ice blade, and said, let's go. Yin Wei waved his hand, and a teleportation door appeared. It quickly opened, and the two of them walked in one after another. The 4th area. Tianxian City. This city was very large, with more than 2 million people. The buildings in the city were also tall and majestic. They were covered in white snow and emitted an ancient aura. However, there were no walls around the city. There was only a river of ice. The river of ice was hundreds of meters wide and surrounded the entire city. The river was turbulent, like a giant dragon, separating Tianxian City and the glacier outside into 2 halves. Dong. Crash. From time to time, ferocious beasts would jump out of the water. These beasts were all extremely powerful, and were basically all above 5-star War Master. Swish. Suddenly, a burly man and a purple-clothed middle-aged man descended in the sky in front of the river of ice. It was Qin Feiyang and Yin Wei, who had changed their appearances. Yin Wei pointed to the city opposite them, and said, that is Tianxian City. Qin Feiyang glanced at the city, lowered his head and saw the river of ice. His pupils immediately shrank. Under the river of ice, he could actually sense the aura of many holy beasts. This river of ice is not simple. I remember that when I was young, I didn't know the meaning of the existence of this river of ice. In the end, I almost lost my life here. Yin Wei also lowered his head and scanned the river of ice, his eyes filled with memories. The meaning of its existence? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yin Wei said, you also noticed, right? There are many holy beasts hiding under the river of ice? Qin Feiyang nodded. These beasts were all tamed by the previous city lords and pagoda masters from elsewhere. They are specifically responsible for protecting Tianxian City. If someone flies over the river of ice, they will be attacked by them. Yin Wei explained. So it's like that. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization and asked, then how do we enter without being attacked by them? Look over there. Yin Wei pointed to the south. Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked over. He saw that in the south of Tianxian City, there was a stone bridge that connected the 2 sides of the river. On the stone bridge, he could faintly see many figures coming and going. You mean we have to enter Tianxian City from that bridge? Qin Feiyang said. Yes, but there is no need for that now. I am now Wuyong, so these beasts will not attack me. After saying that, Yin Wei brought Qin Feiyang and flew towards the city opposite. However, when they reached the center of the river of ice, 3 huge crocodiles suddenly rushed out from the river of ice. These 3 crocodiles were more than 10 meters long, and were all 1-star battle saint holy beasts. Roar. As soon as the 3 crocodiles appeared, they opened their bloody mouths and revealed their white fangs without any explanation, and directly pounced towards Qin Feiyang and Wu Yong. Yin Wei's expression changed and quickly retreated with Qin Feiyang. What happened? Didn't you say that they won't attack us? Qin Feiyang said in shock. I don't know either. Yin Wei was also confused. When he first entered Tianxian City, he had already found out that these beasts would attack everyone except for the pagoda master and the city lord. Could it be that these beasts had already found out that he was an imposter? At the same time, on the stone bridge in the south, when the pedestrians heard the commotion, they all stopped and looked over. Moreover, a golden figure rushed out from the city and rushed towards Qin Feiyang and Wu Yong. Qin Feiyang looked up and his pupils shrank. He said in a low voice, not good, it's the city lord of Tianxian City. Yin Wei said, don't be afraid, I'm Wu Yong now. Even if he comes, he may not recognize me. Whoosh. Soon. The city lord of Tianxian City flew over and landed in front of the 3 crocodiles. His golden clothes were extremely dazzling. The 3 crocodiles were also in awe of him. He glanced at Qin Feiyang and Wu Yong, and his eyes immediately turned cold. He looked at Yan Wei and shouted, "How dare you pretend to be the pagoda master? Tell me, who are you?" What? Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei looked at each other. They were seen through just like that? What was going on? One must know. The current Yan Wei not only looked the same as Wu Yong, but also had the same cultivation. There were almost no flaws. It was not an exaggeration to say that even those who knew Wu Yong well might not be able to see through him. However, the city lord of Tianxian City did not even take a serious look at Yan Wei when he came here. He actually found out that he was an imposter? Wasn't this too much of a mystery? Looking at the expressions of Qin Feiyang and Wu Yong, the city lord of Tianxian City had a trace of sarcasm in his eyes. "I'm really curious. How can you be sure that he's an imposter?" Qin Feiyang said. "Of course I'm sure. 3 days ago, we received a message from the pagoda master of the 3rd region, saying that Qin Feiyang would come to Tianxian City to snatch the alchemy fire. At that time, the pagoda master and I made the first arrangements." The city lord said. "What arrangements?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "First, we placed heaven's ice stones on the stone bridge. You can go and take a look now. Under the ice layer of the stone bridge, there are heaven's ice stones. Even if you turn into a fly, you won't be able to sneak in. But we also considered that this Qin Feiyang is very cunning. It's very likely that he will disguise himself as me and the pagoda master to sneak into the city. So, we told all the saint beasts in this ice river that before we catch Qin Feiyang, the pagoda master and I will not fly over the ice river. But if they find me and the pagoda master flying over the ice river, then we're definitely imposters. This is why I don't need to observe to know that you're imposters. Now please reveal your true identities." The city lord sneered, his eyes flashing coldly. "So that's how it is." Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. Yan Wei sighed. "If I knew this, I wouldn't have killed Wu Yong first. I should have brought you directly into the city." "What? You killed the pagoda master?" The city lord of Tianxian City's expression changed. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. Killing intent flashed in his eyes, and he said, "Now you can die too." As soon as he finished, Yan Wei immediately launched a thunderous attack and killed the city lord with a finger. What's going on? At this time, a man in golden armor, with a group of guards, rushed out of the city. "What should we do?" Yan Wei asked. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and said, "Since things have come to this, there's no need to hide. Let's just kill our way in." Actually, this was not the result he wanted. His plan was to quietly sneak into the Pill Pagoda and snatch the profound sky flame before Mu Qing did. Then he would wait for the big shots of the Pill Pagoda to arrive and cooperate with them to get rid of Mu Qing and the old woman in black. But now, with the city lord of Tianxian City making such a ruckus, his plan had failed. So, right now he only had one choice. He had to give up his plan for the time being and wait until he got the profound sky flame. No, there's still a way. Just as Yan Wei was about to make a move, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he hurriedly stopped him, saying, "Wait a minute. What's wrong?" Yan Wei was suspicious. "I have a plan." Qin Feiyang pursed his lips and smiled. He looked up at the 3 alligators and said, "If you want to live, then shut up." The 3 alligators were all sacred beasts, and their intelligence was comparable to that of humans. Of course, they could understand Qin Feiyang's words. Hearing that. Chapter 826. "You're quite tactful," Qin Feiyang muttered, and then whispered a few words into Yan Wei's ear. "Ugh." After Yan Wei heard this, his face suddenly twitched, and said with a wry smile, "You can even think of this. I really admire your brain." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Schwa. After a few breaths of time, the golden-armored man and the others landed opposite the 2 of them. A total of 11 people. The golden-armored man was a 2-star battle saint, and the other 10 were 9-star battle sect. Pagoda master? Seeing Yan Wei, the 11 of them were stunned. Immediately after, the golden-armored man then asked, "My lord, where is the city lord?" "Dead," Yanwei said expressionlessly. "What?" The group of people's expressions changed. Yanwei glanced at Qin Feiyang, looked at the 11 people and coldly snorted. He and Qin Feiyang are in cahoots. This pagoda master naturally has to kill him. The group of people was extremely shocked. The golden-armored man hurriedly said, "My lord, are you mistaken? How could the city lord collude with Qin Feiyang?" "I don't want to believe it either, but it's the truth," Yanwei said. The 11 of them looked at each other. "My lord, I remember that 3 days ago, you personally said that before catching Qin Feiyang, you would not fly over the ice river, but now," the golden-armored man suddenly said, looking at Qin Feiyang and Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Obviously, he was also suspicious of their identities. "What? Are you suspecting me?" The pagoda master's gaze turned cold. "I wouldn't dare." The golden-armored man hurriedly shook his head and said, "I'm just a little curious." "It's not up to you to ask what this pagoda wants to do. Just do your job well," Yanwei said coldly. "Yes," the golden-armored man hurriedly replied, his face full of panic. Yanwei nodded his head as his expression softened. He said, "Seeing that you are quite capable, I will now officially appoint you as the city lord of Tianxian City. I hope that you can manage this city well." "Appoint me as the city lord?" The golden-armored man's eyes trembled. Yanwei said, "You're not willing? I'll find someone else then." Yes. This subordinate is willing to do my best for my lord until my death." The golden-armored man hurriedly bowed, unable to conceal the joy on his face. This surprise came too suddenly, so much so that this person threw the doubts in his heart to the back of his mind. "Yes. Remember to take precautions. Previously, I received news that this Qin Feiyang has already entered the 4th district. He should be arriving at Tianxian City soon," Yanwei said. "So fast?" The golden-armored man was startled. He nodded and said, "This subordinate understands. This subordinate will go arrange it right away." "Go." Yanwei waved his hand. "This subordinate will take his leave." The golden-armored man bowed. "By the way, don't spread the news that the city lord colluded with Qin Feiyang, so as not to cause panic," Yanwei said again. "Okay." The golden-armored man nodded and flew towards the stone bridge in the south with the group of guards behind him. After the group of people left, Qin Feiyang immediately gave Yanwei a thumbs up. This guy is quite talented in acting. Whether it was the posture or the tone, it was exactly the same as Wu Yong. Whoosh. Then, the two flew into Tianxian City and headed straight for the pill tower in the center of the city. At the same time, in the west of the city, there was a suburb. There were many independent courtyards here. In one of the courtyards, a purple-clothed young man was sitting on the balcony of the attic, leisurely drinking tea. If Qin Feiyang was here, he would definitely recognize that it was Mu Qing at a glance. The black-clothed old woman was also sitting next to Mu Qing. Her aura was unfathomable. Soon, 2 streams of flowing light flew over the sky. Mu Qing was stunned. He raised his head and looked at the 2 streams of flowing light. His eyes suddenly shot out wisps of light. "Wu Yong. We've waited for so long. It's the same as waiting for him to appear. If I take him down, I can only get his blood. The flame of Tianxian will be ours." The black-clothed old woman stood up, cold light flashing in her eyes. "Don't worry." Mu Qing reached out to stop her. He looked at the 2 streams of flowing light again. His dark eyes were suffused with a layer of strange light. How could it be him? At that moment, he raised his eyebrows. "Who?" The black-clothed old woman was surprised. "Qin Feiyang," Mu Qing said. "Qin Feiyang?" The black-clothed old woman was stunned. "My all-seeing eye can see their real faces. It can't be fake. But I don't understand. Qin Feiyang has never been to the 4th area. How could he know what Wu Yong looks like?" Mu Qing frowned. "What do you mean?" The black-clothed old woman was stunned and asked. "The Wu Yong beside him is not the real Wu Yong. It's someone pretending to be him," Mu Qing said. The black-clothed old woman was shocked and asked, "What's his cultivation?" Mu Qing shook his head and said, "I can't see through him, But he's not as strong as you. The black-clothed old woman breathed a sigh of relief. Since he was not as strong as her, there was nothing to worry about. She said, "Do you want to make a move?" "It's not the real Wu Yong. What's the point of making a move? But where is the real Wu Yong now?" Mu Qing fell into deep thought. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and a trace of disbelief crept into his eyes. "What's wrong?" The black-clothed old woman was surprised. Mu Qing said in a deep voice, "Qin Feiyang dares to let someone pretend to be Wu Yong. There's only one explanation. The real Wu Yong is dead." This. The black-clothed old woman was so shocked that she couldn't react for a long time. No. Even if Wu Yong is dead, how would Qin Feiyang know? Could it be that Wu Yong was killed by him? Or did he see Wu Yong die with his own eyes? Mu Qing's mind was in a mess. Buzz. Suddenly, the image crystal in his arms made a sound. Mu Qing took out the image crystal and poured his battle chi into it. The shadow of a middle-aged man quickly condensed. "Father?" Mu Qing was stunned and asked suspiciously, "Father, what's the matter?" "Something big," the middle-aged man said, his face rather gloomy. Mu Qing and the black-clothed old woman looked at each other, their eyes full of surprise. The middle-aged man said, "You should all know what the two ancestors have been doing all these years." "Yes. They are at the Black Dragon Glacier, thinking of ways to seize the heart of the demon dragon and the eye of the demon dragon." Mu Qing said, "Yes. But not long ago, the heart of the demon dragon and the eye of the demon dragon were snatched away by Qin Feiyang." The middle-aged man said, "What?" Mu Qing and the black-clothed old woman's expressions changed. "The two ancestors have returned to the clan and told me to find Qin Feiyang no matter what." "Qing, or you have been with Qin Feiyang for so long, you know him better than us. You must find a way to find him," the middle-aged man said seriously. "Wait. What is going on? Why did Qin Feiyang enter the Black Dragon Glacier?" Mu Qing frowned. According to the two ancestors, it was the tower masters of the 3rd and 4th regions who were greedy for the sacred artifacts on Qin Feiyang and lured Qin Feiyang into the Black Dragon Glacier, the middle-aged man said. Mu Qing's face froze and said in surprise, "In other words, the tower masters of the 3rd and 4th regions also entered the Black Dragon Glacier?" "Yes," the middle-aged man said. "No wonder this Qin Feiyang dares to let someone impersonate Wu Yong without any scruples." Mu Qing suddenly understood. If he didn't guess wrong, this Wu Yong must have been killed by Qin Feiyang. "Patriarch, the person you are looking for, Qin Feiyang, is now in Tianxian City in the 4th region," the black-clothed old woman said. The middle-aged man was stunned and said in surprise, "Really?" "Absolutely. Just now we saw with our own eyes that they flew over us." The black-clothed old woman nodded. "Very good. You two go and watch him. Don't let him slip away. I will immediately report to the two ancestors." After the middle-aged man finished speaking, he immediately turned off the image crystal. The black-clothed old woman said gloomily, "This little bastard can actually snatch the demonic dragon's heart and demonic dragon's eye under the eyes of the two ancestors. He is really capable. Yes. This guy is getting harder and harder to control." Mu Qing sighed deeply and said, "Let's go. They should be going to the Pill Pagoda. Let's hurry over." The black-clothed old woman nodded and waved her big sleeve, rushing into the sky with Mu Qing. Immediately, she saw Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei standing in front of the Pill Pagoda's gate at this moment. Moreover, the stone gate was slowly opening. The black-clothed old woman's eyes darkened and said, "They are really going for the profound sky flame." With Qin Feiyang's brain, how could he ignore the alchemy fire here? "But didn't I tell you to always pay attention to the Pill Pagoda? How come you didn't even know that Wu Yong had left the Pill Pagoda? If we had taken him down when he left the Pill Pagoda, we would have already gotten the profound sky flame," Mu Qing said unhappily. The black-clothed old woman hurriedly bowed and said, "It is this old servant's fault. Young master, please punish me." Mu Qing rolled her eyes and said, "You have been in the Mu family for so many years. Even my father has to be courteous to you. Do you think I dare to punish you? Be more careful in the future, especially when facing Qin Feiyang. If you are careless, you will suffer a great loss. Yes, the black-clothed old woman responded respectfully and asked, "What do we do now?" Mu Qing pondered for a moment and said, "It is too late to rush over now. Let them go in. When they come out, we will catch them off guard." "Young master, you are wise," the black-clothed old woman said with admiration. Mu Qing's face twitched and she said helplessly, "Don't flatter me. I don't buy it." The black-clothed old woman smiled bitterly and was quite embarrassed. While the two were talking, the gate of the Pill Pagoda was completely opened. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei did not hesitate and directly rushed in. Then they closed the stone door and went straight to the top floor. Just as the stone door closed, Mu Qing and the black-clothed old woman also streaked across the sky and landed on the square in front of the Pill Pagoda like lightning. "Let's wait here for the rabbit." Mu Qing crossed her arms in front of her chest with a bright smile on her face. Inside the Pill Pagoda. The Pill Pagoda in the 9 districts were taking the assessment at the same time. Therefore, at this moment, there were many disciples in this Pill Pagoda, but they were all refining pills in the alchemy room. Because of this, Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing smoothly arrived at the top floor. Of course, even if someone found them now, they would not be suspicious. There were a total of 5 alchemy rooms on the top floor. There were numbers on the stone doors of 4 alchemy rooms, except for the one in the middle. According to Qin Feiyang's understanding of the Pill Pagoda, this unnumbered alchemy room must be Wu Yang's. As expected, when they pushed the door open, there was no one inside, and every place was very neat and clean. Alchemy furnace? Qin Feiyang casually looked around and walked into the alchemy room. Seeing an alchemy furnace on the stone table, he immediately walked over curiously, because the alchemy furnace was glowing brightly, and one could tell at a glance that its level was not low. The size and shape of the alchemy furnace were similar to that of an ordinary alchemy furnace. But there was one place that was very outstanding. It was the pattern on the alchemy furnace. This pattern was a fiery red scorching sun. It was very realistic. Standing in front of the alchemy furnace, one seemed to be able to feel the heat emitted by the scorching sun. Yan Wei walked into the alchemy room and saw Qin Feiyang staring at the alchemy furnace. He smiled and said, "Wu Yong is dead. Everything here is yours. If you like it, take it away." "That makes sense." Qin Feiyang grinned and waved his hand, sending the alchemy furnace into the castle. Immediately, he walked to the wall next to him and knocked gently. "No." A moment later, he shook his head and walked to the wall on the other side. Dong! Immediately, a low echo came from behind the wall. "It's here." His eyes lit up and he took out the Chong Shui. With a few swipes, he cut open the wall. A dark room with rolling flames also appeared in their line of sight. This. Yan Wei looked at all this with his mouth agape. "What's wrong?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Yan Wei said strangely, "Do you often do this kind of thing? Otherwise, how can you find the alchemy fire so quickly?" Hearing this, Qin Feiyang's expression became rather awkward. He smiled embarrassedly and said, "Not often, just occasionally." "Occasionally?" Yan Wei shook his head. He would not believe Qin Feiyang's nonsense even if he was beaten to death. "It's true. Actually, I'm very kind," Qin Feiyang said very seriously, and turned to walk into the dark room. The waves of fire were rolling, and the temperature was extremely high. Steel could be melted in an instant. But for Qin Feiyang, it did not pose any threat. He shuttled through the flames and walked to the front of the mysterious sky flame. Without hesitation, he bit his finger and dripped blood to recognize it as his master. Soon, the blood contract was formed. With a thought, the mysterious sky flame immediately stopped reviving. The raging flames in the dark room also gradually subsided. "What's going on? Why is my alchemy fire gone?" When the mysterious sky flame stopped reviving, the Pill Pagoda immediately became a mess. All the disciples ran out of the alchemy room, their faces full of surprise. At the same time, Yan Wei looked at Qin Feiyang, who was standing in the dark room, and asked, "Now that we have the alchemy fire, what should we do next?" Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said, "Let's go and appease those disciples first." Yen Wei nodded and turned to walk out of the alchemy room. He saw 4 young men and women standing in the hall outside. Without a doubt, those who could stand on the top floor were undoubtedly the most talented young people in the 4th area. Pagoda Master, why did the alchemy fire suddenly disappear? The 4 of them looked at Yen Wei in surprise. It's okay, it's just a small accident. It'll be fine soon. You guys also go down and inform the others to stay in the alchemy room and not run around, Yen Wei said expressionlessly. All right. The 4 of them nodded and turned to run down. Yen Wei also returned to the alchemy room, closed the stone door and looked at Qin Feiyang. It's done. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, I'll go to the castle, wait for me here. Swish. As soon as he finished, he took the mysterious sky flame and disappeared without a trace. As soon as Qin Feiyang entered the castle, Fatso and the others swarmed up and looked curiously at the mysterious sky flame in front of him. Qin Feiyang said, Get out of the way, I'll see if the nether devil flame can swallow it. The group of people retreated to the side. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the mysterious sky flame flew towards the nether devil flame. As a result, the 2 clusters of alchemy fire floated in the void, peaceful. Lu Hong said, It's the same as the cold ice flame and the sky thunder flame. Plus the sky sun flame on Mu Qing's body, there are already 4 kinds of alchemy fire. Do you think that the 5th to 9th regions will also have such alchemy fire? Fatso asked. Everyone shook their heads. Without seeing it with their own eyes, it was really hard to make a judgment. Qin Feiyang withdrew his gaze, walked to the alchemy furnace, and dripped his blood to recognize it as the owner. The information about the alchemy furnace suddenly poured into his head. What grade? Lu Hong asked. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, The 6th grade, called the Scorching Sun Furnace. Then you really made a fortune this time. Lu Hong pursed her lips and smiled. Yes, I did. Although the 6th grade alchemy furnace is not as rare as the 6th grade alchemy fire, it is still very expensive. Even the dukes of the imperial capital need 1/3 of their family property to buy a 6th grade alchemy furnace, Qin Feiyang said. Damn, it's so valuable? When Wolf King heard this, his eyes immediately lit up. Qin Feiyang's face darkened and said, I'm warning you, don't have any ideas about this Scorching Sun Furnace. After saying that, he flashed and left the ancient castle, looked at Yen Wei and said with a smile, The big shots of the Pill Pagoda should be arriving soon. Let's go out and welcome them. The 2 walked out of the alchemy room one after the other. On the way, they also met some disciples who were curious about Qin Feiyang's unfamiliar face, but no one dared to ask more. Soon, the 2 arrived in front of the stone door of the Pill Pagoda. When the stone door opened, Qin Feiyang immediately found Mu Qing standing in the square outside. Mu Qing naturally also saw Qin Feiyang inside. Chapter 827. Are you surprised to see me here? Mu Qing said with a grin. Qin Feiyang's eyes darkened. Who are you? What's your purpose in coming to the Pill Pagoda? Still pretending? What's the point? Mu Qing was speechless. Sure enough, I've been recognized again. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. He really couldn't understand why Mu Qing could recognize him at a glance no matter how he disguised himself. He rubbed his temples, glanced at the old woman in black, and then looked at Mu Qing. A faint smile crept onto his face. If I don't pretend, how can I satisfy your vanity? There was obvious mockery in his tone. Mu Qing didn't mind at all. He smiled and said, Since you're so considerate of me, shouldn't I thank you properly? That's what I should do. Why don't you give me another divine artifact? Or give me the space-time gate? By then, I'll definitely pretend to be a grandson in front of you every day. Qin Feiyang chuckled. These words seemed to be a compliment, but in fact they were mocking him. Because the heavenly thunder sword was snatched under Mu Qing's nose. Mu Qing naturally understood the meaning of Qin Feiyang's words. How could he not be angry when his scar was mercilessly torn open? You're so smart and you didn't miss anything, but you still failed to snatch the heavenly sun flame, right? He suppressed his anger and retorted sarcastically. What's there to show off? If I had the coordinates of all the major areas, I'm afraid you wouldn't even have the chance to eat dirt. But you can't. Look at you. You came to Tianxian City before me. But didn't the heavenly sun flame still fall into my hands? Should I say you're incompetent? Or should I say you? Oh, I really can't think of how to describe your stupidity, Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Bastard! Mu Qing flew into a rage and shouted without looking back. Imprison him! Boom! Before he could finish his words, the old woman in black behind him released a terrifying pressure from her body and pounced towards Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei. She's a war king, she can't be taken head-on. Yan Wei's pupils constricted as he anxiously shouted. I know. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. Why hadn't the big shots from Pill Tower yet? Saying these words, on one hand, on the other hand, he's was to stall for time. However, the major figures of the Pill Tower were even more delaying than he had imagined. Even now there was still no movement. Let's not talk about his methods, just his cultivation. Right now he was a 4-star war master, while Qin Feiyang was a 7-star war master. There was a difference of 3 small realms. You really disappoint me. Qin Feiyang sighed deeply and glanced at the old woman in black, saying, Don't worry, we have plenty of time. Take your time. After saying that, he was about to bring Yan Wei into the castle. Boom. But at this moment, a terrifying aura descended. Is he here? Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei looked up at the sky. At the same time, Mu Qing and the old woman in black also looked up at the sky, their eyes full of anticipation. In fact, they were all waiting for someone. Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing were waiting for the big shots from Pill Tower. Mu Qing were waiting for the patriarch of the Mu family. Therefore, when the aura appeared, they all thought that it was the person they were waiting for. Whoosh! Under their gazes, finally, a middle-aged man landed in the sky above Pill Tower. He was wearing a long white robe and his figure was tall. His eyebrows were like swords and there were strands of white hair on his head. He was full of vicissitudes of life. Is he a big shot from Pill Tower? Qin Feiyang mumbled. Qin Feiyang knew nothing about Pill Tower. Naturally, he did not know much about the big shots in Pill Tower. Therefore, he could not be sure whether this person was from Pill Tower or not. Why are you here? But suddenly Mu Qing exclaimed. Qin Feiyang was stunned and he lowered his head to look at Mu Qing. Mu Qing and the old woman in black stared at the man in white, looking extremely shocked. What was going on? Could it be that Mu Qing knew the man in white? At the same time, the man in white glanced at Qin Feiyang and the other 3. His gaze landed on the old woman in black and he said, Mu Li, why are you here? We really know each other. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He looked at the old woman in black again, only to see that the old woman's expression was quite ugly at this moment. This time, he had an answer in his heart. The man in white and Mu Qing did know each other, but their relationship was definitely not very good. And the mysterious lady once said that if he wanted to find out the details of the Mu family, he had to go to the Central Divine Kingdom. In other words, the Mu family was in the Central Divine Kingdom. And this man in white and the old woman in black knew each other, and could call out her name at once. This was enough to prove that the man in white must also be from the Central Divine Kingdom. Who is Wu Yong? At this time the man in white asked. Yan Wei's eyes trembled and he asked, Qin Feiyang, how should I answer? Answer truthfully. Qin Feiyang secretly said. He was already sure that this man was a big shot from Pill Tower, because this man could call out Wu Yong's name at once. It also meant that, although this man could call out Wu Yong's name, he did not know Wu Yong and had never seen him before. Otherwise, he would not ask this question. I am. Yan Wei stepped forward and said respectfully, May I ask who you are? The man in white said, I am the divine envoy of the Central Divine Kingdom's main pagoda, responsible for arresting Qin Feiyang. Central Divine Kingdom. Yan Wei's body shook and he bowed. Greetings, Divine Envoy. Qin Feiyang also hurriedly bowed. Divine Envoy of the main pagoda. Why did he come to the 4th area? At the same time, Mu Qing frowned and looked confused. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something and turned to look at Qin Feiyang, secretly saying, Are you playing tricks? Who knows? Qin Feiyang secretly laughed. At this time, the man in white looked at Qin Feiyang, looked up and down, and then looked at Yanwei and asked, "Who is he?" Yanwei hurriedly said, "Sir, he is this subordinate's follower." The man in white nodded and asked, "Where is Qin Feiyang now?" Qin Feiyang secretly said to Yanwei, "Quickly tell him that Mu Qing and the others are here to snatch the profound sky flame." "All right." Yanwei replied, looked at the man in white, and said respectfully, "Qin Feiyang hasn't appeared yet, but these two people are also here to snatch the profound sky flame." The man in white raised his eyebrows, looked at Mu Qing and the old woman in black, and said, "What does your Mu family want to do?" Mu Qing hurriedly said, "Divine Envoy, don't misunderstand." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and directly interrupted Mu Qing's words, saying, "Sir Divine Envoy, the heavenly thunder flame and the ice flame were indeed snatched by Qin Feiyang, but the heavenly sun flame of the third area is in Mu Qing's hands." His original plan was to wait for Mu Qing to disguise herself as him, and come to snatch the profound sky flame. At that time, when the big shots of the pill tower appeared, they would naturally take action against Mu Qing. But plans could never keep up with changes. He didn't expect that Mu Qing would actually find out that he had entered Tianxian City. Now Mu Qing didn't disguise herself as him, so the original plan couldn't be carried out. So, he had to seal Mu Qing's mouth as much as possible. Otherwise, when Mu Qing said that he was Qin Feiyang, the man in white would definitely be suspicious. "Don't slander me," Mu Qing shouted coldly, looking at the man in white, saying, "Divine Envoy, in fact this person is..." But before he finished, Qin Feiyang said, "Are you trying to say that I am Qin Feiyang? Don't quibble. Although that day, you disguised yourself as Qin Feiyang and snatched the heavenly sun flame to frame him, because of your arrogance, you also exposed a fatal flaw." Qin Feiyang sneered. "What flaw?" Mu Qing frowned. "Have you forgotten? When you went to Tianxian City to snatch the heavenly sun flame, the old witch beside you didn't disguise herself." Qin Feiyang sneered. "Oh no." Mu Qing's expression changed. Back then, he indeed didn't let the old woman in black disguise herself. He deliberately wanted to let Qin Feiyang know that he was the one who snatched the heavenly sun flame. In this way, seeing that Qin Feiyang knew that he was the one behind it but couldn't do anything, he felt very happy. But he never thought that Qin Feiyang would call people from the main pagoda headquarters. At this moment, he had an impulse. He wanted to open Qin Feiyang's head to see what was inside. Why was it that no matter what happened, it couldn't stop this bastard? At the same time, hearing Qin Feiyang's words, the man in white's eyes also surged with a bone-piercing killing intent, looking at the old woman in black, saying, "So that old woman in black is you?" When the pagoda masters of the major regions reported, they all mentioned the old woman in black. But because they didn't report the appearance of the old woman in black, before coming, he didn't know what the old woman in black looked like. Only now did he know that the old woman in black was the previous housekeeper of the Mu family. Then there's no suspense. Qin Feiyang was indeed framed, and the heavenly sun flame has fallen into the hands of the Mu family. Looking at the man in white's eyes, the old woman in black frowned and pointed to Qin Feiyang, saying, What about me? Let me tell you, don't bite people like a dog." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly, looking at the man in white and said, "My lord, these two people are cunning, please punish them quickly." "Yes. The evidence is conclusive, there's nothing more to say." Yanwei nodded, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Boom. A terrifying aura suddenly rushed out of the man in white's body and swept across the sky. Emperor's aura. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. Although he couldn't see through this person's cultivation, he was sure that this person's strength was no worse than the old woman in black. Because, if the old woman in black wasn't strong, he wouldn't dare to make a move. "My pill pagoda has always respected your Mu family, and never provoked you. But I didn't expect that your Mu family would plot against us behind our backs. This matter, we can't let it go." The man in white took a step forward and instantly landed in front of the old woman in black, and ruthlessly slapped his palm. The wind from his palm was like thunder, roaring in all directions. "Young lord, run." The old woman in black's face changed, quickly pushed Mu Qing away, and at the same time, raised her other hand to meet the man in white. Boom. Accompanied by a deafening sound, a destructive wave of air rushed out in all directions with a force that could topple mountains and overturn seas. Puff. Immediately, the old woman in black spat out a mouthful of blood, and her arm was directly shattered, blood and flesh splattered everywhere. On the other hand, the man in white was like a mountain standing firmly in the void, not moving at all. Damn, so strong? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yin Wei was also dumbfounded by what he saw. He really didn't expect that the so-called divine messenger of the Pill Pagoda was so powerful. But suddenly, a fatal sense of crisis in the hearts of the two people in the banquet. The two suddenly quivered, and quickly looked up to the void. Yin Wei shouted, "Not good, Tianqian City will be destroyed." That destructive wave of air was too terrifying, and no one could stop it. "Don't worry, with me here no one can destroy this city," the man in white said without turning his head, showing off his unparalleled confidence. Then, he waved his big sleeve, and the roaring wave of air in the void disappeared in an instant. What is this person's cultivation? Chapter 828. At the same time, Mu Qing also opened a portal, and was ready to escape, but the man in white just waved his hand and the portal shattered. Mu Qing, who had one foot in the portal, was also blown away on the spot. His body was broken into pieces and blood stained the sky. "Young master." The old woman in black's expression changed drastically. She quickly stabilized her body and rushed toward Mu Qing. "Young master?" The man in white frowned and looked up and down at Mu Qing. He suddenly said, "So you're the young master of the Mu family who has activated the all-seeing eye." "All-seeing eye?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked suspiciously, "Sir Messenger, what is the all-seeing eye?" The man in white said, "The all-seeing eye is also a kind of fighting soul. It can see through everything in the world and distinguish between the real and the fake." "See through everything in the world?" Qin Feiyang was shocked and said, "In other words, no matter how you disguise yourself, he can see through your original appearance." "Yes." The man in white nodded and said, "And cultivation and whereabouts and so on." "So that's it." Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. No wonder Mu Qing could predict his whereabouts in the 9 nether underworld. No wonder Mu Qing could see through his identity again and again all these years. It turned out that this person had activated such a heaven-defying fighting soul. At this time, the old woman in black landed beside Mu Qing and held Mu Qing in her arms. Mu Qing's face was pale and her body was stained with blood. Her consciousness was already dissipating. "I don't want to die," Mu Qing murmured. Her voice was inaudible and her breath was extremely weak. "Don't worry, you won't die. I'll take you back to the family immediately." The black-robed old woman comforted him, and then opened another portal. "Even if you want to leave, you have to leave the heavenly sun flame." The man in white's eyes turned cold. He reached out his hand, and the portal was instantly shattered. "Don't go too far. Let me tell you, if anything happens to the young master here, your Pill Pagoda will face the anger of everyone in the Mu family," the black-clothed old woman said gloomily. "I admit that your Mu clan is indeed very strong and mysterious. Until now, no one knows about your Mu clan's background. However, the fact that my Pill Tower was able to control the Forgotten Continent for so many years is not an undeserved reputation," the white-robed man said domineeringly. After saying this, he took a step forward and instantly appeared above the two of them. Then he aimed a kick at the old woman's head. "Bastard!" The black-clothed old woman was furious, and a huge shadow appeared behind her. It was a human figure, but his face could not be seen clearly. His entire body was enveloped by a layer of blood-red light, and he was filled with an astonishing baleful aura. Human-shaped fighting soul. Qin Feiyang was quite surprised. "I have experienced this fighting soul before. Although it is very strong, it is a pity that your cultivation is too weak." The white-robed man smiled contemptuously. He stretched out his arm and pointed at the air. A brilliant battle chi burst out like a giant python, and charged toward the human-shaped battle spirit. Boom! Along with an earth-shattering explosion, the fighting soul instantly shattered and turned into ashes. Puff! The black-clothed old woman spurted out blood. Like a meteorite, she flew out with Mu Qing. As for Mu Qing, she had already closed her eyes. It was unknown whether she was dead or alive. If you don't hand over the heavenly sun flame, not to mention him, even you will die here. The white-robed man said coldly. He stepped on the void and closed in on the two of them. His entire person seemed to have transformed into a peerless divine sword, revealing a terrifying sharpness. The black-clothed old woman looked at the white-robed man and pointed at Qin Feiyang. She shouted, "He is the Qin Feiyang that you are looking for. Why don't you kill him?" Qin Feiyang said disdainfully, "Do you think it is useful to say this now? Yes, he is Qin Feiyang. But now, would the white-robed man believe it? He would only think that this was a lie made up by the black-clothed old woman in order to escape. As expected, the white-robed man did not even look back at Qin Feiyang. His eyes were firmly locked on the black-clothed old woman, and there was a strong murderous intent on his cold face. "Little bastard, you are good this time, but don't be complacent too early." The black-clothed old woman glanced at Qin Feiyang gloomily. She took out Mu Qing's Qingquan bag, and was about to take out the heavenly sun flame. Boom. But at this moment, an even more terrifying aura suddenly appeared between heaven and earth. "Who is it?" the white-robed man shouted. Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei's pupils also shrank, and they looked at the sky in surprise. Whoosh. Suddenly, two old figures descended from the void above. They were two old men. One of them was wearing a purple robe. He had a ruddy face and white hair, and his aura was earth-shattering. The other person was wearing a snow-white robe. He had white hair and a white beard, and he looked like an immortal. It's them. Seeing these two people, Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei's faces instantly turned pale, because these two people were the two powerful old monsters they met in the Black Dragon Glacier. But how did they find this place? Greetings to the great ancestor, second ancestor. The black-clothed old woman was ecstatic and bowed. What? The white-robed man's face changed. He looked at the purple-clothed old man in horror and said, "You are the great ancestor and second ancestor of the Mu clan?" "It is us," the purple-clothed old man said expressionlessly. "Impossible. It is said that you have been in the Black Dragon Glacier for so many years. How could you suddenly appear here?" The white-robed man said in shock. And after knowing the identity of these two people, Qin Feiyang also suddenly realized. No wonder these two people could freely enter and leave the Black Dragon Glacier. It turned out that they were the two ancestors of the Mu clan. Mu Qing had also said that the Mu clan controlled the Real Spacetime Gate. The Real Spacetime Gate could even transport the 9 nether underworld, let alone a mere Black Dragon Glacier. The two old men glanced at the white-robed man. When they saw Mu Qing lying in the black-clothed old woman's arms, their faces suddenly changed. The purple-clothed old man said gloomily, "What happened to Qing?" The black-clothed old woman shuddered and hurriedly knelt in the void and said, "This old servant is useless. I could not protect the young master. Please punish me." The purple-clothed old man shouted, "Answer this old man who hurt him." "It's him." The black-clothed old woman pointed at the white-robed man. "You are courting death." The purple-clothed old man suddenly looked at the white-robed man with a strong murderous intent in his eyes. "It seems that this Mu Qing is very important in the Mu clan," Qin Feiyang muttered. At the same time, the white-robed man frowned and seemed to be a little afraid of these two people. He said, "I admit that I was a little too heavy-handed, but I also want to ask you, why did you steal the alchemy fire of our pill tower? What do you think?" The purple-clothed old man sneered. The white-robed man's pupils shrank, and he said in a deep voice, "So you already know the secret of these alchemy fires?" "Yes. Your pill tower deliberately put these alchemy fires in the 9 major areas. It can be said that you hid it very well, but you can't hide it from my Mu clan's investigation." The purple-clothed old man said contemptuously. "Presumptuous. Don't forget, in this forgotten continent, my pill tower is the one with the highest authority, and your Mu clan is just an outsider." The white-robed man shouted angrily. "No matter where my Mu clan is, we are the king that the world looks up to. A mere pill tower is nothing. If this old man remembers correctly, you should be the divine envoy of the main tower. However, even if you are the divine envoy, You still have to die for hurting Qing. The purple-clothed old man's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Boom. Battle Qi surged. A giant hand suddenly appeared out of nowhere, covering the sky and the sun. Following closely, the purple-clothed old man waved his hand, and the giant hand suddenly fell, slapping towards the white-robed man. The white-robed man wanted to leave, but at the same time, an invisible pressure gushed out from the purple-clothed old man's body and instantly swept across the sky, firmly confining the white-robed man in the void. At the same time, Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei also fell into the pressure, unable to move. Even the entire Tianxian city at this moment, as if they were frozen, their faces were full of despair. The two of you listen to me. No matter what, you must report everything that the Mu clan has done to the master of the main tower. The sooner the better. The white-robed man roared at Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei, and then his whole body released a destructive aura. Boom. In the next moment, under Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei's horrified gaze, the white-robed man's body suddenly exploded in the void. A wave of qi that could destroy the world suddenly roared out, sweeping in all directions. Under the impact of the wave of qi, although the pressure that imprisoned Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei did not collapse, it was a little relaxed. Qin Feiyang seized this opportunity and decisively took Yan Wei to the ancient castle. However, Tianxian city was not spared. Not only was the city razed to the ground, but the more than 2 million people in the city were all killed tragically. In just a moment, Tianxian city no longer existed, and only the Pill Tower was left, still intact in the ruins. But in the face of all this, the Mu clan's great ancestor, second ancestor, and the black-robed old woman were extremely calm. The purple-clothed old man glanced around, and looked at the black-robed old woman, and asked, "Where is Qin Feiyang?" The black-robed old woman said, "The strong man who disappeared just now." "Little bastard, you can really run." The purple-clothed old man's eyes were cold, and said, "Immediately take the young lord back to recuperate, and also tell the patriarch to block the news of the Black Dragon Glacier." "Yes." The black-robed old woman respectfully replied, opened a portal, and quickly left. After watching the two leave, the white-clothed old man glanced at the ruins below, and said, "Qin Feiyang, didn't you always want to know the origin of our Mu clan? Come out, this old man will tell you everything, including the reason why we lured you to the Forgotten Continent." Inside the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei had already recovered their original appearance. Hearing the white-clothed old man's words, Qin Feiyang's face immediately showed a trace of a sneer. "You want to trick me out like this? Do you think I'm an idiot?" He was sure that as soon as he went out, he would definitely be killed by these two people. Outside, the purple-clothed old man said, "Don't waste your energy, this little bastard is as smart as an old fox, he won't come out." The white-clothed old man frowned, and continued, "Qin Feiyang, as long as you are willing to return the Demon Dragon's Eye and Demon Dragon's Heart to us, we will give you all the pill fire in the 9 regions. Also, please come to our Mu clan as a guest, and truly understand our Mu clan." He added another sentence. But after a while, Qin Feiyang did not appear. Let me tell you, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Those who oppose our Mu clan, no one has a good ending. Chapter 829. Tisk, what's so great about the Mu family? Who do you think you are? You don't know anything. In the ancient castle, Fatso sneered again and again. "You don't say, this Mu family is really not ordinary," Yan Wei said, his face full of fear. "Are you afraid? Fat Lord, let me tell you, in less than 10 years, we will definitely trample them under our feet," Fatso said confidently. Yan Wei was slightly stunned and said speechlessly, "I really don't know who gave you such confidence." Lu Hong asked, "By the way, where's the divine envoy of the main pagoda?" Yan Wei said, "He self-destructed his body." Self-destructed? Everyone looked at each other. Wolf King asked suspiciously, "How?" Yan Wei said, "Self-destructing one's body is a method of mutual destruction." "That's right. I've read about this in ancient books before. The self-destruction of one's body can produce a terrifying destructive power. and this destructive power far surpasses one's cultivation. But the condition is that only those who have stepped into the combat emperor realm can self-destruct their body, Qin Feiyang said. I see. Fatso and the others nodded in realization. Lu Hong asked, then how powerful is this self-destruction? It has to surpass a perfect battle art. For example, a 1-star combat emperor's self-destruction can instantly kill a 5-star combat emperor, Qin Feiyang said. Surpass a perfect battle art? So terrifying. The few of them were dumbfounded. It's indeed terrifying, but unless it's a last resort, who would be willing to self-destruct their body? Because once one chooses to self-destruct, it's the same as choosing death. Even a divine pill can't save one, Qin Feiyang said. That's right. To step into the combat emperor realm, those with good talent will need a few thousand years, and those with average talent will need tens of thousands of years. They cherish their lives more than others. Don't talk about self-destructing. Even if they lose a piece of flesh, their hearts will ache. Frankly speaking, even if I am an 8-star battle saint, if I were to choose, I would rather live on while at death's door than die. Yin Wei sighed. However, it's obvious that the self-destruction of the Chief Tower's messenger did not cause any harm to the 2 ancestors of the Mu family. From this, it can be seen how powerful those 2 people are. Qin Feiyang said, his face full of worry. When he knew nothing about the Mu family, he wasn't that worried. But now, as he slowly understood the situation, he became more and more fearful of this mysterious family. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at Yin Wei. Seeing the latter's helpless expression, he frowned and said, could it be that you've always thought that you were struggling at death's door by following us? Isn't that so? Yin Wei asked. Qin Feiyang did not say anything more. Yin Wei had just joined this small team, and the estrangement in his heart would not disappear in a short period of time. Outside, after not seeing Qin Feiyang for a long time, the old man in white had completely lost his patience. Little bastard, you want to play with us? Fine. We'll play with you to the end. The old man in white gritted his teeth and turned to the old man in purple. He transmitted his voice. Go and kill everyone in the Pill Pagoda. Okay. The old man in purple nodded and rushed down toward the Pill Pagoda. When Qin Feiyang and Yin Wei came out of the Pill Pagoda, they did not close the stone door of the Pill Pagoda. Therefore, everything that happened outside could be heard clearly from inside the room. Because of this, the disciples of the Pill Pagoda were all gathered on the first floor, looking at the old man in purple and the old man in white with fear. Especially after hearing the words of the old man in white, the group of people were even more frightened. Some ran desperately to the alchemy room above, while others rushed up, wanting to close the stone door of the Pill Pagoda. However, the strongest among them was only a battle king, and the weakest was a martial master. How could their speed compare to the old man in purple? There was no suspense. The old man in purple rushed into the Pill Pagoda and mercilessly massacred. After he left behind a ground full of corpses and broken limbs. The scene was extremely bloody. The old man in white sent another sound transmission. Go and search the surroundings carefully. See if there are any survivors. Also, kill all the fierce beasts in the ice river. Whoosh! The old man in purple immediately turned into a ray of light and flew towards the ice river. Roar! Ewo! Soon. Pained beast roars came from the 4 sides of the ice river, resounding for thousands of miles. A short while passed. The old man in purple returned, his entire body brimming with killing intent. The old man in white scanned the area below and said, Qin Feiyang, this old man will ask you one last time. Do you want to come out? After 10 breaths of time, there was still no sign of Qin Feiyang. A cold light flashed in the eyes of the old man in white, and he said to the old man in purple, go to the other areas immediately and pretend to be Qin Feiyang's accomplice. Snatch away all the pillfire. What about you? The old man in purple asked. The old man in white sneered. His ancient castle can't be moved. I'll wait here. Let's see who can outlast the other. The old man in purple said. Then do you want to get rid of the tower masters of these areas? Yes. But remember, you must not let anyone know that this is the Mu family's doing. I don't want to fall out with the pill tower now, the old man in white reminded. Understood. The old man in purple nodded, opened a portal, and quickly left. Little bastard, we can wait in the Black Dragon Glacier for 10,000 years. Naturally, we can wait here for you for 10,000 years. Let's slowly wait. The old man in white smiled coldly and landed somewhere in the ruins. He sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to rest. The two of them didn't transmit their words, so Qin Feiyang and the others in the castle heard it clearly. Their faces were quite gloomy. Although they couldn't see the old man in white's expression, it wasn't difficult to tell from his tone that this person wasn't joking. These two old bastards are actually trying to frame us. The Wolf King glared and gnashed his teeth in anger. Since they entered the Forgotten Continent, they had been plotted against by the mysterious madam. It wasn't easy to wait for the mysterious madam to change her mind. Now an even more troublesome Mu family came. How could they be so unlucky? Brother Wolf, even if you scold them now, they can't hear you. Why waste your breath? Fatso sighed helplessly, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Boss, to be honest, we really can't outlast them. What should we do? What else can we do? We can only drag it out with them. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead. Whether it's the old man in purple or the old man in white, they are not a match for them. As long as they go out, they will die without a doubt. So there is no other choice. Did you all notice what the divine envoy of the main tower said just now? He said that the Mu family is an outsider. Does that mean that the Mu family is not originally from the Forgotten Continent? Lu Hong suddenly said. Fatso shook his head and smiled. You think too much. If they are not from the Forgotten Continent, could they be from the Great Qin Empire? It's not impossible. Lu Hong said very seriously. This? Fatso was stunned, quickly asked. Boss, is there a Mu family in the Great Qin Empire? Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, said, There are definitely a lot of people with the surname Mu, but I have never heard of the Mu family. Suddenly, Lu Hong thought of something, surprised. Isn't Mu Tianyang also surnamed Mu? Could it be that the Mu family is the descendant of Mu Tianyang? Ha! Qin Feiyang and the others looked at Lu Hong, their expression constantly changed. What? Did I say something wrong? Lu Hong looked at them timidly. No. Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand, said, Although it's just a guess, you can't rule out this possibility. If the Mu family is really the descendant of Mu Tianyang, then Lu Xingqian's role is not difficult to judge. Fatso followed. Lu Xingqian, Qin Feiyang murmured, his eyes flashed, smiled and said, We'll talk about this later, let's cultivate first. Then, he turned around and walked to the altar, opened the iron box, opened the 6-word manual, and continued to copy the 5th stroke of the kill manual. Fatso and the others also went into seclusion one after another. Yen Wei walked to Qin Feiyang's side, looked at the kill word on the iron cover book, and asked, Is there any meaning in copying this kill word? Of course. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled, but did not explain. Yen Wei curiously looked at it for a while, but he really couldn't understand, so he also sat cross-legged in a corner, closed his eyes and meditated. The castle gradually fell into a dead silence. At the same time, the 5th area to the 9th area ushered in a huge catastrophe. A middle-aged man who claimed to be Qin Feiyang's accomplice broke into several major areas one after another, not only took away the alchemy fire, but also killed the tower lords of several major areas. For a time, the major areas were in a mess, and the city lords of the major areas, as well as the leaders of the major tribes, also issued a kill order for Qin Feiyang. In less than half a day, Qin Feiyang's name spread to every corner of the major areas. Of course, this was certainly not a good reputation, and they were all scolding him. Therefore, Qin Feiyang officially opened the prelude to becoming the enemy of the whole world. The next day, the old man in purple came back and landed beside the old man in white. The old man in white immediately opened his eyes and asked secretly, Did you get it? Yes. Now we only need Qin Feiyang's Sky Thunder Flame, Ice Flame, Sky Mystic Flame, and the Heaven Star Flame of the main tower. As long as we get these 10 kinds of flames, our Mu family will usher in a new future. The old man in purple transmitted his voice, looking quite excited. The flames on Qin Feiyang's body will certainly not run away, and as for the heaven star flame in the main tower, it will fall into our hands sooner or later. You go back to the family first and see how Qing Er's injury is. He has opened the sky eye, and his future is limitless, so there can be no accident. In addition, tell the head of the family that he can send people to sneak into the main tower. And by the way, spread Qin Feiyang's deeds in the central divine kingdom. The old man in white transmitted his voice. Are you going to kill him? The old man in purple secretly asked. No. He's our most important chess piece, and he can't die until the end. I'm just doing this to divert the attention of the forces in the central divine kingdom, and let them focus on Qin Feiyang. In this way, it will be much easier for us to get the heaven star flame. The old man in white said. Yes. The old man in purple nodded, opened the portal and left. After waiting for so many years, it's finally time. Just you wait, our Mu family will soon come back and make you pay with your blood. Chapter 830. Time flew by, and half a year passed in the blink of an eye. This morning, Qin Feiyang's arm suddenly trembled, and the fifth stroke of the kill formula released a bright light. Previous chapter, next chapter at the same time. His aura was like a volcanic eruption as it crazily soared. In less than 3 breaths of time, his cultivation had broken through to the 8-star War Master. At the same time, Yanwei also opened his eyes, looking at Qin Feiyang's back. His eyes were filled with bewilderment. That kill word could actually increase Qin Feiyang's cultivation. Wasn't this too ridiculous? Qin Feiyang let out a long breath, retracted his aura, and looked at the kill formula. The kill formula had a total of 6 strokes, and now there was only 1 stroke left, which was just enough for him to break through to the 9-star War Master. However, it actually took half a year to copy the 5th stroke. Then wouldn't the 6th stroke take even longer? Half a year. Even if he didn't copy the kill formula, with his own talent, it was enough to break through a small realm. This 6-word divine arts really made him love and hate it. It didn't take much time to copy a stroke in the early stages, but in the later stages, it was completely dragging him down. The key was that he couldn't give up yet. After all, every single one of these divine arts had a heaven-defying ability. Let's take it slow. In any case, there's only 1 stroke left for the kill formula. Qin Feiyang muttered, closed the iron book, closed the iron box, and turned to look at Fatso and the others. After half a year of meditation, everyone's strength had broken through, especially the black dragon snake. It, who had crippled its cultivation and started cultivating again, had already recovered its cultivation to the 5-star War King. The only ones who had not broken through were Yanwei and the dual-winged snow eagle. There was no need to talk about Yanwei. Without opening the door to potential, it was naturally not that easy to break through to the 9-star War Saint. As for the dual-winged snow eagle, although it had opened the 6th level, and its talent had greatly increased, the realm of the War Saint was not something that the War Master could compare to. So, it would probably take some time for it to break through to the 2-star War Saint. Fatso suddenly opened his eyes and said, Boss, we don't have much battle chi pills left. Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked, Where are the herbs? We still have some. Plus, we looted the treasure vaults of the other tribes. We also got quite a lot. But Fat Lord estimates that these herbs can only last us half a year at most. Fatso said. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead in distress. The amount of battle chi pills required to copy the kill formula was already several times more than what Fatso and the others consumed. And now, there was the 2-winged snow eagle and Yanwei. The number of battle chi pills required by these 2 battle sages was comparable to his. If they didn't think of a way to solve this problem, they might really face the situation of running out of ammunition and food. You guys continue cultivating. I'll go out and take a look. Qin Feiyang said. With a flicker, he appeared outside. Half a year passed. The destroyed Tianxian city had been covered in ice and snow, turning into a glacier. Somewhere near the Pill Pagoda, the old man in white sat cross-legged. Sensing the appearance of Qin Feiyang's aura, a terrifying emperor's aura quickly rushed out from his body. Shua. But before he could open his eyes, Qin Feiyang disappeared like lightning. Can't hold it in anymore? The old man in white opened his eyes and looked at the place where Qin Feiyang appeared, his eyes full of ridicule. Then, he closed his eyes again and restrained his aura to the extreme, like an ordinary old man. How is it? Inside the castle. Fatso and the others looked at Qin Feiyang. Still outside. Qin Feiyang was extremely angry. This old thing really planned to continue to waste time with them. Yin Wei sighed. I hope there will be a turn for the better. Boom. Before his voice faded, a powerful aura suddenly descended above the Pill Pagoda. Sensing this aura, Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other in dismay. Could there really be a turn for the better? Then, the group of people held their breaths and listened to the movements outside. At the same time, outside, the old man in white opened his eyes again and looked up. He saw a middle-aged man in black standing above the Pill Pagoda. And the middle-aged man in black also noticed the old man in white and couldn't help but be stunned. He said in surprise, "You are the great ancestor of the Mu family?" "That's me." The old man in white smiled and nodded. He got up and said, "This old man thinks you look familiar. You should be from the main pagoda, right?" "That's right." The middle-aged man in black nodded. The old man in white cupped his hands and said, "Nice to meet you." "I don't dare." The middle-aged man in black quickly waved his hand with a trace of awe on his face. The great ancestor of the Mu family smiled and asked suspiciously, "What are you doing here?" "Sigh." The middle-aged man in black sighed deeply and said, "I believe you have heard that Qin Feiyang and his accomplices have snatched the pill fire of my 9 regions. The great ancestor of the Mu family nodded and said, "To be honest, this old man quite admires this little guy. He actually dares to provoke the Almighty. Young people are more arrogant. It's understandable. But he shouldn't have come to provoke my pill pagoda. And this time, I'm here to capture him." The middle-aged man in black said. His eyes were like a blade, extremely sharp. The great ancestor of the Mu family's eyes flashed and asked, "When did you come?" "The moment I received the news, I brought people here. But during this time, I've been in the 9th region. Because we suspected that Qin Feiyang might go to the Central Divine Kingdom, so we wanted to wait at the entrance. But after waiting for so long, I didn't see him appear, so I came out to try my luck. By the way, what are you doing here?" The middle-aged man in black asked. The great ancestor of the Mu family raised his eyebrows and said, "To tell you the truth, this old man is also looking for Qin Feiyang. And this old man knows where he is." "Where?" The middle-aged man in black was refreshed. "Right here. He's hiding in a spatial divine object. If he doesn't take the initiative to come out, we can't do anything to him." The great ancestor of the Mu family said. The middle-aged man in black glanced down and suddenly looked at the great ancestor of the Mu family, and asked suspiciously, "Why are you looking for Qin Feiyang? He's doing whatever he wants in the 9 regions. As a member of the Forgotten Continent, this old man naturally has to do something." The great ancestor of the Mu family laughed. If it was someone who didn't know, looking at his sincere attitude at this moment, they would really think that he was a good person. "Can you stop pretending?" At this time, Qin Feiyang appeared out of thin air, looked at the great ancestor of the Mu family, and said, "Do you know that your face right now is extremely disgusting?" Qin Feiyang. The middle-aged man in black suddenly looked at Qin Feiyang, and said word by word, killing intent burst out of his eyes. "Yes, it's me. But don't believe that old thing's nonsense, because the pill fire from the 5th area to the 9th area was snatched away by his Mu family," Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. And the middle-aged man in black was stunned and turned to look at the great ancestor of the Mu family. However, the great ancestor of the Mu family was not nervous at all. He looked at the middle-aged man in black and said with a smile, "Do you believe it?" "Of course not." The middle-aged man in black sneered and looked at Qin Feiyang again, and said coldly, "Hand over the pill fire immediately, and I'll leave your corpse intact. Young man, don't resist, you have no chance." The great ancestor of the Mu family laughed, and the emperor's might emerged and rushed towards Qin Feiyang. This time, Qin Feiyang did not dodge. The emperor's might firmly imprisoned him in the void. Because when he came out, He had already thought that the people of the main tower would not believe him. Of course, he had also been prepared to deal with it. Glancing at the great ancestor of the Mu family, Qin Feiyang looked at the middle-aged man in black and said, "If you don't believe me, I can go with you to the central divine kingdom, because I have evidence in my hands that can prove that all of this was done by the Mu family. But this evidence is very important, and I can only give it to your master." Evidence. The middle-aged man in black raised his eyebrows without a trace. This kid vowed solemnly and was not afraid at all. He took the initiative to go with him to the central divine kingdom. Was this really related to the Mu family? At the same time, deep in the eyes of the great ancestor of the Mu family, there was also a trace of surprise. Was what this little bastard said true or false? "Believe me, otherwise you will fall in the hands of the Mu family sooner or later," Qin Feiyang said with a very sincere attitude. "Don't talk nonsense. The Mu family is open and aboveboard. How could they do such a thing? However, since you took the initiative to ask to go to the central divine kingdom, then I will take you there. I believe that the master also wants to see you," the middle-aged man in black said coldly. "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded and pretended to be very happy. At the same time, he glanced at the great ancestor of the Mu family with a trace of provocation in his eyes. "Great ancestor, I want to take him back to the central divine kingdom immediately. Please take back your emperor's aura." The middle-aged man in black also looked at the great ancestor of the Mu family and begged. However, the great ancestor of the Mu family turned a deaf ear to him and stared at Qin Feiyang. The middle-aged man in black raised his eyebrows and was about to speak. "Haha." But at this time, the great ancestor of the Mu family laughed out loud. "Qin Feiyang, oh Qin Feiyang, this old man really likes you more and more. You are the smartest young man this old man has ever seen. However, if you want to use him to get away, you are too naive." Boom. After saying that, the eyes of the great ancestor of the Mu family burst with a piercing cold light. His old arm stretched out in the air, and an invisible big hand suddenly grabbed the middle-aged man in black. The middle-aged man in black's face changed and said in shock and anger, "Great ancestor, what do you want to do? Didn't I tell you? The Mu family is the real culprit, and I am just a victim that they framed. As for now, of course he wants to kill you to silence you." Qin Feiyang sneered. "Damn it." The middle-aged man in black cursed and turned around without hesitation. "Don't think about leaving since you are here. The great ancestor of the Mu family wanted to kill him." The invisible big hand cut through the sky like lightning and grabbed the middle-aged man in black. The middle-aged man in black was immediately controlled. "Alas! Originally, I was still hoping that you could save me, but I didn't expect you to be so weak. I shouldn't have come out." Qin Feiyang sighed. "Count on him? You don't know, right? He is just a messenger of the main tower. A mere messenger is just a little stronger than an ant in front of this old man." The great ancestor of the Mu family smiled disdainfully, and his 5 fingers suddenly shrank. The middle-aged man in black's body suddenly began to deform, and blood spurted out from the pores all over his body. In an instant he became a bloody man. But he didn't scream, and he didn't even frown. He stared at the great ancestor of the Mu family and sneered. "There is no such thing as an airtight wall in the world. Don't think that you can hide it from the world by killing me today. Let me tell you, your Mu family will pay the price for this sooner or later." Explode. Chapter 831. Boom. Crack. The middle-aged man in black self-destructed, and a destructive aura rolled out between heaven and earth like a raging wave. The glacier shattered, and the ground sank. The void was twisting crazily, as if it was about to split open. Puff. The Mu family's ancestor was the closest, so he bore the brunt of it. His face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. It was enough to see that the cultivation of the middle-aged man in black was stronger than that of the white-robed man. At least his self-destruction could cause a trace of damage to the Mu family's ancestor. And because of the Mu family's ancestor's injury, the emperor's aura that imprisoned Qin Feiyang loosened a little. Qin Feiyang seized the opportunity, decisively opened a portal, and went in without looking back. Just as he disappeared, the destructive blast of the middle-aged man in black's self-destruction roared. The portal instantly shattered, but there was no trace of him. Bastard! Seeing this scene, the Mu family's ancestor was furious. He was confident that he could easily kill the middle-aged man in black. But what he didn't expect was that these people from the Pill Pagoda were all so crazy. They self-destructed their bodies without saying a word. Twice now. It was all because of the self-destruction of the people from the Pill Pagoda that Qin Feiyang was able to escape. So in his heart, his resentment towards the Pill Pagoda grew stronger. In the sky above a glacier, a sorry figure appeared out of thin air. It was Qin Feiyang. That was close. He scanned his surroundings and patted his chest with lingering fear. Just now. If he had left a step later, even if he hadn't been killed by the Mu family's ancestor, he would have died under the blast. The power of the War Emperor's self-destruction was not something he could resist. After a long time, he finally calmed down and took Yanwei out. Isn't this too risky? Yanwei looked at Qin Feiyang helplessly. He had never seen such a crazy young man. It's a little crazy, but it's basically within my expectations. Qin Feiyang laughed. Within your expectations? Yanwei was taken aback. He frowned and asked, why are you so sure that the people from the main tower will blow themselves up? It's simple. As long as I say that I have evidence in my hands, regardless of whether it's true or not, the Mu clan's great ancestor will not let me go to the Central Divine Kingdom. And the only way to stop me from going to the Central Divine Kingdom is to kill that middle-aged man in black. The great ancestor of the Mu clan is so powerful that the middle-aged man in black is definitely not his opponent. Therefore, he could only choose to self-destruct. Qin Feiyang said. Yanwei suddenly understood and said, so you've already planned all of this. But, aren't you afraid that the black-clothed middle-aged man will change sides and join the Mu family? Qin Feiyang said, then let me ask you, would you let someone who knows your secret live in this world? I won't. Yanwei shook his head. That's right. The Mu clan has planned such a big conspiracy. How can they let the middle-aged man in black continue to live in this world? Even if he joins the Mu clan, the great ancestor of the Mu clan will not let him go. And the middle-aged man in black, as the divine envoy of the main tower, naturally can see through this. So, in the face of such a hopeless situation, it's better to blow himself up. This way, it can create a chance for me to escape. After all, I'm the only one who knows the truth. Of course. If the great ancestor of the Mu clan can accept his betrayal, then I can only admit that I'm unlucky, Qin Feiyang said. Amazing. After hearing this, Yanwei gave Qin Feiyang a thumbs up without hesitation. Although the young man in front of him is not very strong, his brain is really not comparable to ordinary people. However, I can't let the middle-aged man in black die in vain. After all, it's because of him that I can escape. I'll remember this account first, and then I'll find the Mu clan and settle it together. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. Yanwei asked, then what's your plan now? I want to go to the Central Divine Kingdom, but I'm a little worried. Qin Feiyang said. The alchemy fire in the 5th to 9th regions has fallen into the Mu clan's hands, so there's no need to continue to stay in the 9 regions. What are you worried about? Yanwei asked. Mu Qing. Although this person was seriously injured by the divine envoy of the main tower, I have a feeling that he will definitely not die. And his omniscient eye is too big a threat to me. If he's also in the Central Divine Kingdom, then no matter how I disguise myself, I will be exposed. Qin Feiyang said. This is indeed a problem. But I think compared to Mu Qing, the great ancestor and the second ancestor of the Mu clan are a bigger threat. Because they will definitely not let you enter the Central Divine Kingdom alive. Yanwei said. You're wrong. The Mu clan won't kill me now. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said. Why? Yanwei was surprised. I don't know. Maybe in their eyes I still have value. I'll tell you the truth. In fact, it's the Mu clan that lured me to the Forgotten Continent. Qin Feiyang said. They lured you here? Yanwei was surprised. So there's really something fishy about this? You don't have to worry about the Mu clan. Now the people who know the truth are already dead. Even if I tell the truth, no one will believe me. Now I have to worry about the pill pagoda. They will definitely hunt me down if they don't know the truth. If only I had evidence in my hands, then I wouldn't be so passive. Qin Feiyang sighed. Makes sense. Yin Wei nodded. Suddenly he smiled and said, not necessarily. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked at him suspiciously. You don't know, right? In fact, after you left the castle, that little girl Lu Hong took out the image crystal. Yin Wei smiled. Took out the image crystal? Qin Feiyang was a little confused. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and said in surprise, you mean she recorded the conversation between me, the Mu clan's ancestor, and the black-clothed middle-aged man? Yes. Yin Wei nodded. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said angrily, why didn't you say so earlier? You made me worry here for so long. Yin Wei smiled and said, didn't I want to give you a surprise? How about it, is it a surprise? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded again and again, overjoyed. With evidence, it's easy to do things. This Mu clan won't be proud for long. Yin Wei smiled and said, when are you going to go to the Central Divine Kingdom? Right away. Qin Feiyang said. Right away? The smile on Yin Wei's face suddenly froze. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang patted his head and said, look at my head. I forgot what I promised you. Okay, I'll accompany you back to the tribe first, and then go to the Central Divine Kingdom. This. On the contrary, Yin Wei hesitated. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. This. I think I can go back alone, Yin Wei said. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said helplessly, you don't trust me that much? Without a doubt. Yin Wei must be worried that Qin Feiyang would make things difficult for his clansmen. It's not a matter of trust or not, but I have to be responsible for them. I can't let them enter the fire pit. Yin Wei said. Fire pit? Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. He remembered that in the Great Qin Empire, there were countless people who wanted to curry favor with him. But in Yin Wei's eyes, he was actually a fire pit? It was really a blow. Qin Feiyang glanced at him and nodded helplessly. Okay, I won't go. Are you satisfied now? Uh-huh. Yin Wei smiled awkwardly. Qin Feiyang waved impatiently and said, go and come back quickly. I'll wait for you here. Okay. Yin Wei nodded, took out a portal, opened it quickly, and soon disappeared in front of Qin Feiyang's eyes. Fire pit. Qin Feiyang shook his head and couldn't help laughing. It seemed that he had to find a chance to tell this Yin Wei, so that he wouldn't treat him like a plague all day. Swish. Then. Chapter 832. The 8th Region. In a certain glacier, there was a huge tribe. This tribe covered an area of dozens of miles. Old wooden houses were arranged neatly like stars in the sky. Around them, there was a row of tall wooden fences covered with snow, like a city wall, blocking the whistling cold current for this tribe. However, in this huge tribe, there was not a single person, not even a child. At a glance, other than the houses, there was only snow, as if it was an empty city. In front of the gate of the tribe, there was a stone tablet that was more than 10 meters tall. On it, there was a pattern engraved. It was a golden giant tiger. In between its eyebrows, there was an eye-catching king word, and its bell-like eyes were shining. Although it was just a pattern, it was very real. It was like a real giant tiger, sealed in the stone tablet, emitting a shocking king's aura. And this was the totem. Under the totem, there were 4 bold words. Sky Tiger Tribe. Suddenly, a child ran out from one of the houses. This child was only 3 or 4 years old, with a small canine tooth, wearing a red tutu, and a golden bell hanging on his neck. As he ran, the bell made a crisp sound, but the child's mouth was full of blood. Moreover, there was a trace of bloodthirsty light in his small eyes, and he seemed to be full of hostility. He stood in the snow outside, looking around. His eyes suddenly flashed, and he wiped the blood from his mouth, and the hostility between his eyebrows disappeared instantly. At this moment, a strong man in black clothes descended in the sky above the Sky Tiger tribe. It was Yin Wei. The child in the doo-doo raised his head and looked at Yen Wei. With an innocent smile on his pink little face, he looked very obedient. I'm finally back. At the same time, Yen Wei stood in the sky, looking at the tribe below, and for a moment, he was filled with emotions. Back then, he went to the Black Dragon Glacier full of confidence, but in the end, not only did he not get the inheritance of the demon dragon, he almost died inside. In the end, he survived, but he was reduced to being someone else's servant. His life was out of his control. If the heavens could give him another chance, he would rather die than enter the Black Dragon Glacier. It's all because of greed. He sighed to himself and sorted out his emotions. A faint smile appeared on his face. He continued to hide it because he didn't want his clansmen to notice anything and worry about him. But just as he was about to go down, he couldn't help but be stunned. Where did the people of the tribe go? Why didn't he see any of them? Very soon, he found the child in the doo-doo. Whoosh! He flashed and landed in front of the child. He squatted down and gently grabbed the child's shoulders. He smiled and asked, "Whose child are you? Where are the others?" The fact that the Sky Tiger tribe had their own totem meant that there were at least 1,000,000 of them. Even if Yen Wei was the leader of a tribe with 1,000,000 people, it was impossible for him to know everyone. I don't know. Uncle, can you take me home? I think I'm lost. The toddler shook his head. His voice was very childish, and there was a trace of confusion on his little face. Okay. Yen Wei smiled dotingly. He reached out and picked up the child. He asked, "What are your parents' names?" My parents' names? Let me think. The toddler scratched his head and suddenly smiled. I remember now. My father is called Hades and my mother is called Grim Reaper. Hades? Grim Reaper? Yen Wei was stunned. He reached out and touched the child's forehead. He didn't have a fever. Why was he talking nonsense? Creak. At this moment, the door of a house at the side was gently pushed open. A burly man carefully poked his head out and scanned the outside. Leader? When he saw Yen Wei, the burly man was surprised. However, when he saw the child in Yen Wei's arms, his face changed and he shouted, "Leader, be careful." Yen Wei was shocked. He quickly scanned the surroundings and then looked at the burly man. He asked curiously, "Be careful of what?" "Be careful of him." The burly man pointed at the toddler, his face full of fear. "Is there a problem with him?" Yen Wei suspiciously lowered his head and looked at the child in his arms. The child grinned at him. Immediately, a strong sense of crisis emerged in Yen Wei's heart. Without thinking, he hurriedly threw the child out. But at the same time, the child stretched out his little hand. That pink and tender little arm was like a sharp blade. With a poochie sound, it pierced into Yen Wei's lower abdomen. Ah! Yen Wei screamed in pain on the spot. His face was distorted. "Leader! Little bastard, I'll fight it out with you." Seeing this, the burly man hiding behind the door roared and rushed towards Yen Wei crazily. What? Leader is back? And the burly man's roar alarmed the entire Sky Tiger tribe. Bang bang bang. The doors were knocked open one after another. Groups of people rushed out. There were men and women, old and young. It's really the leader. The Sky Tiger tribe was in an uproar. They all rushed towards Yen Wei. As for the toddler, after breaking Yen Wei's sea of qi, he quickly retreated. Standing in the snow, he scanned the crowd around him. The anger that disappeared between his brows appeared again. "Leader, how are you? Are you okay?" The burly man who first discovered Yen Wei ran to Yen Wei's side and asked with concern. My sea of qi was shattered by him. Yen Wei's face was pale and his limbs were weak. He only stood up with the help of the burly man. He stared at the toddler and asked, "Who are you? Didn't you see? I'm just a child." The toddler blinked his little eyes and looked pitifully at Yen Wei. "Leader, don't be fooled by his appearance," the burly man hurriedly reminded. "Yes, this little bastard is not only powerful, his methods are also extremely vicious. Many of our tribesmen died tragically in his hands." More and more people gathered behind Yen Wei. They all shouted with righteous indignation. "I didn't want to, but their blood is so delicious. I couldn't control myself." The toddler said timidly. What do you mean? Yanwei didn't understand. Every time he kills someone, he will suck their blood dry. Only a dried-up corpse is left. During this period, more than 10,000 tribesmen have been sucked dry. He's simply inhumane. He's a vampire. The tribesmen of the tribe cried out in grief. Sucking their blood dry. Yanwei's eyes trembled. Where are the high priest and the others? The high priest is dead. Not only is the high priest dead, all the battle saints of our tribe have been killed by him. The crowd cried out in grief. Boom. Hearing this, Yanwei felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His body and mind trembled, and his mind rumbled. They were all dead. Why did this happen? It had only been a short year since he left the tribe. Why did so many things happen? When did this happen? He looked at the tribesman behind him and asked. His voice was weak and his eyes were dim. It was as if he had aged a few decades. Half a year ago. For the past half a year, we were like beasts reared by him. We lived in despair every day without any hope. Leader, you shouldn't have come back. If you didn't come back, the Sky Tiger tribe still had hope to rise again. But now, not only are we going to die, you are going to die too. The crowd cried out in grief. The elders of the tribe were in tears. As for the children, they were lying in their parents' arms and crying loudly. Helplessness was written all over their faces. Yanwei said, Is this the reason why you didn't send me a message? Yes. He's too strong. He killed the high priest in an instant. What's the use of calling you back? You still can't save us. A few old men lamented. What? Hearing this, Yanwei's heart was in turmoil. One had to know. The high priest was of the same cultivation level as him, an 8-star battle saint. How could he be killed in an instant? Just how strong was this child? He suddenly turned his head and stared at the child in the doo-doo. He shouted, Who are you? Why are you doing this to the Sky Tiger tribe? The child in the doo-doo grinned and said playfully, Do you still remember the Mu family? Yanwei's eyes widened. He swallowed hard and said, You are from the Mu family? Yes. The child in the doo-doo nodded. Yanwei's face turned pale. If it was in the past, he would not be afraid when he heard about the Mu family. Instead, he would be disdainful. But now he did not dare. He had personally experienced the terror of the Mu family. It was not something the Sky Tiger tribe could provoke. Why? He asked. Isn't it simple? You helped Qin Feiyang and went against the Mu family. Of course, the Mu family will not let you have an easy time. With the power of the Mu family, it would be too easy to find the Sky Tiger tribe. How about this? Since you've returned, tell me the whereabouts of Qin Feiyang. Or deceive him to come here. When I am in a good mood, I might let the Sky Tiger tribe go. The child in the doo-doo smiled. Help Qin Feiyang? Leader, is what he said true? Why are you with Qin Feiyang? You should know that he is the person the Pill Pagoda wants dead. The tribesmen of the Sky Tiger tribe looked at Yanwei in disbelief. Do you think I want to? Yanwei sighed deeply. He looked at the child in the doo-doo and said, If you want to kill me, I will admit it. I only beg you to let my tribesmen go. Do you think that is possible? You only have one choice now, and that is to trick Qin Feiyang here. The child in the doo-doo said, I have already parted ways with him. I don't know where he is now. And I have not built a bridge with him, so I cannot contact him. Yanwei said. Then I have no choice. I can only kill your tribesmen one by one. The child in the doo-doo's face turned cold. His eyes were filled with blood. It was a bloodthirsty light, filled with unparalleled brutality. He stretched out his arm, and a 12 to 13-year-old boy in the crowd flew towards him uncontrollably. Yanwei's sea of qi was shattered, and he had lost all his cultivation. He could not stop it, and could only watch as the boy landed in front of the child in the doo-doo. The taste of fresh blood is too delicious. The child in the doo-doo licked his lips and gently cut the boy with his finger. A wound appeared on the boy's body and blood gushed out. Chapter 833. Father, Mother, save me. The youth immediately began to cry for help, his young face filled with fear. Let go of my child. A man and a woman ran out from the crowd and rushed towards the child without any regard for their lives. Yan Wei's face changed and anxiously shouted, "Quickly stop them." A few brawny men immediately rushed forward and hugged the man and woman tightly. These two people were only at the War Master level. If they rushed forward like this, they would simply be sending themselves to their deaths. "Let me go. I want to save my child." However, the man and woman seemed to have been possessed as they crazily roared. They couldn't be blamed for this. In this world, which parent didn't care about their child? Seeing their child walking towards death step by step, they would naturally go crazy. "Calm down." Yan Wei furrowed his brows and shouted, "That's not your child. Of course you can calm down. Let me tell you, the reason why our heavenly tiger tribe is in this state today is all because of you. If you hadn't colluded with Qin Feiyang, would he have come here? If he didn't come, the high priest and the others wouldn't have died in vain, and our child wouldn't have died so tragically." The man and woman roared as if they had gone mad. Hearing these words, the other clansmen of the Heavenly Tiger tribe also fell silent. Although they shouldn't criticize the leader like this, it was undeniable that this was the truth. Yan Wei was also silent. He was a little angry, but he knew that he didn't even have the right to be angry. However, he didn't want this to happen either. Who would want to see such a scene? Who would want to see their clansmen die one by one? All of a sudden, his heart was filled with anger, self-blame, despair, and resentment. Schwa. Suddenly, he raised his head to look at the child and roared, "Let him go. If you have anything, come at me." As he spoke, he broke free from the big man's support and walked towards the child without hesitation. "What do I need you for?" The child in the undergarment laughed disdainfully. With a wave of his little arm, an invisible force blasted towards Yan Wei. Puff! Yan Wei was sent flying on the spot. He spat out a mouthful of blood and smashed into the crowd behind him. "Leader, how are you? Are you alright? Can you not be silly? Even if you still have your cultivation, you're still no match for him. Moreover, you're just a cripple now. Just do as he says. Trick Qin Feiyang into coming here. Even if it's not for us, we have to think about the children in our tribe. Yes, we're not afraid of death, but these children can't die. Look at them. Look at how scared and desperate they are now. I'm afraid this incident will leave a shadow in their hearts for the rest of their lives." Everyone howled in grief. The entire tribe was filled with a desolate atmosphere. And how could Yan Wei not know this? However, he knew that if he called Qin Feiyang over, it would only speed up the destruction of the Sky Tiger tribe. Because the Mujia's target is Qin Feiyang. If Qin Feiyang doesn't come, the Mujia won't really kill him. However, as long as Qin Feiyang comes, the Sky Tiger tribe will lose its value. The end result will be the destruction of the tribe. However, the tribesmen didn't know the bitterness in his heart. They all thought that he was still protecting Qin Feiyang. They couldn't help but feel resentment in their hearts. After a moment of struggle, Yan Wei gritted his teeth and said, "All right, I'll listen to you. Immediately call Qin Feiyang over. Quickly let him go." "Do you know where he is?" "Then just now, why did you say that you don't know?" "That's where you're wrong. You'll pay the price for lying to me like this. Do you know that?" The child in the duda grinned and suddenly raised his arm. Like a knife, it sank into the youth's heart and crushed it. "Ah!" The youth screamed in pain and died on the spot. The blood that gushed out from the youth's heart was all sucked into the mouth of the child in the doo-doo. Awesome! This taste is too good for words. He closed his eyes and raised his head. His face was full of enjoyment and intoxication. "Damn it! You demon, give me back my son's life." The parents of the youth had also gone completely crazy. Their aura suddenly burst out and shook the people around them away. They madly pounced on the child in the doo-doo. Whoosh! The child in the doo-doo suddenly opened his eyes. 2 rays of cold light burst out of his eyes. What I hate most is people disturbing me at this time and ruining my mood. As soon as he finished speaking, the golden bell on his neck suddenly shot out 2 rays of golden light and sank into the brows of the man and woman. Boom! Ah! Accompanied by 2 screams, the 2 people's heads immediately exploded like watermelons. The cruel methods and bloody scene made one's hair stand on end. Plop! Looking at this scene, Yan Wei knelt on the ground powerlessly and begged. I beg you, please don't hurt my tribesmen anymore, okay? Okay. As long as you call Qin Feiyang over, I'll let them go. The child in the duda grinned. His lips and teeth were stained with blood. It was scarlet and looked so ferocious. Okay, wait for me. Yan Wei nodded, got up and walked to the side of a slightly older elder. He whispered to the elder a coordinate. Now that his cultivation was crippled, he could not open the portal himself. Bus. The elder waved his hand, and a portal appeared. His battle chi surged, and the portal immediately expanded in the wind and quickly opened. I'll be back soon. Don't hurt them anymore. Yan Wei looked at the child in the dudu again and said worriedly. He stepped into the portal. The teleportation gate quickly dissipated. At the same time, Yan Wei appeared out of thin air above a glacier. However, because he had lost his cultivation, he could not fly in the air. As soon as he appeared, he fell powerlessly. Qin Feiyang, come out quickly. As he fell, he shouted loudly. The next moment, Qin Feiyang appeared out of thin air. Seeing Yan Wei covered in blood, his expression changed. He quickly swooped down, carried Yan Wei, and landed on the peak of an ice mountain. What happened? After putting down Yan Wei, Qin Feiyang asked in surprise. Yan Wei said weakly, First, give me a spirit sea pill. Spirit sea pill? Qin Feiyang was stunned. When he saw the wound on Yan Wei's lower abdomen, he suddenly understood. He immediately took out a spirit sea pill with 4 veins and put it in Yan Wei's mouth. The pill melted in his mouth, turned into a majestic energy, and rushed to Yan Wei's sea of qi. Qin Feiyang frowned. Didn't you go back to the tribe? How did this happen? Yan Wei said angrily. Isn't this all your fault? Me. Qin Feiyang was a bit confused. The Wuxia. The Wuxia's people are standing in my tribe, my people. Speaking of this, Yan Wei couldn't continue. He lowered his head, his face was distorted by the pain, and tears couldn't help but burst out of his eyes. Although Yan Wei didn't finish, Qin Feiyang already understood. His face instantly became gloomy. These damn bastards. He clenched his hands and said, When did they go? Not long after we left the Black Dragon Glacier, they found my tribe. Their target is you. I have no choice. In order to save my people, I can only come to you. I beg you, come with me. Yan Wei endured the pain, kneeling on the ground, begging Qin Feiyang. Get up first. Qin Feiyang frowned and said. Yan Wei shook his head. If you don't agree, I will kneel here until I die. I will go. Because they are your people, I won't leave them to die. But you have to know, even if I go, the Wuxia won't let them go. Qin Feiyang said. I know. But I can't just leave them alone, right? Yan Wei roared. So the most important thing now is to think of a way to transfer your people. Qin Feiyang said. Transfer? There are more than 1 million people in my tribe. How can we transfer them? What's more, even if there is a way to transfer them, the Wuxia will definitely stop us. That's simply a fantasy. Yan Wei shook his head, his face was full of helplessness. Yes, to do this is harder than ascending to the sky. Qin Feiyang sighed. But if they ran like this, not only would they not be able to save the people of the Sky Tiger tribe, even he and Yan Wei would be captured. But what can they do to get the best of both worlds? I can help you. Suddenly, an emotionless voice sounded above their heads. Who? The two of them were startled. They looked up and their faces were suddenly stunned. It was a beautiful woman, wearing a white dress. Her hair was fluttering in the wind, exuding an otherworldly aura. Who else could it be but the mysterious lady? After regaining his senses, Qin Feiyang frowned. You've been following us all this time? The mysterious lady said. After leaving the Black Dragon Glacier, I have been following you all this time. How did you do it? Qin Feiyang was surprised. At that time, he left using the portal, only he knew where he was going. But this mysterious madam had actually found him so quickly. Wasn't this too ridiculous? The mysterious lady said. Don't worry about this, just answer me. Do you need my help? Yes, of course I do. Before Qin Feiyang could answer, Yan Wei spoke first, as if he was grasping at a life-saving straw. The mysterious lady frowned and said, Shut up, I want Qin Feiyang to answer personally. Yan Wei immediately looked at Qin Feiyang pleadingly. Qin Feiyang frowned and asked, "What are your conditions?" The mysterious lady wanted him to answer personally, which meant that she definitely wouldn't help for free this time. There must be some conditions. You are indeed a smart person. The mysterious lady nodded and smiled. I need you to go to the Central Divine Kingdom's main tower and help me get something. The mysterious lady said. Go to the main tower. Qin Feiyang was shocked and asked, "What is it?" The mysterious lady didn't answer. Her slender finger pointed in the air, and battle chi gushed out, condensing into a 5-colored crystal in the void. This crystal was triangular, as big as a baby's fist, and it was colorful all over, shining with a hazy brilliance. The mysterious lady said, "This 5-colored crystal is with the tower master of the main tower. It's not easy to get it. You'd better think carefully." Qin Feiyang held his breath and said angrily, "You want me to steal something from the tower master of the main tower? Are you kidding me?" "That's why I want you to think carefully," the mysterious lady said. Yan Wei begged. "Qin Feiyang, I beg you, agree to her request. Don't worry, I will do my best to help you, even if it costs me my life." "Don't worry." Qin Feiyang comforted her inwardly. He looked at the mysterious madam and said, "Then you have to tell me why you want to snatch this crystal. What's the use of this crystal?" "I can't tell you. Just tell me, do you agree or not?" The mysterious lady shook her head, leaving no room for discussion. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said helplessly, "Do I have a choice? But this is too dangerous. I can lose my life if I'm not careful. You have to give me a way to save my life. If you want benefits, just say it. Why do you have to be so fake?" The mysterious lady rolled her eyes and said, "I'll give you 2 more perfect battle arts, okay?" "Only 2? That's too little, isn't it?" Qin Feiyang said unhappily. The mysterious lady's face twitched and said unkindly, "Boy, have you heard of the saying? A man who is never content is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. I advise you not to be too greedy." Qin Feiyang smiled. What a joke. Who would complain about having too many perfect battle arts? But he also knew that the mysterious lady meant what she said, so he didn't continue to pester her. 2 was better than nothing. Looking at Qin Feiyang's expression, the mysterious lady couldn't help but laugh and said, "Actually, you don't have to be too worried. If something happens to you, someone will secretly help you." Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat. This woman had planted a spy in the Central Divine Kingdom. "Who is it?" he asked curiously. "You'll know when the time comes. Of course, if you can succeed, he won't appear," the mysterious lady said. Qin Feiyang nodded, and his eyes suddenly turned cold. He said, "Then there's no time to lose. Let's go to the Sky Tiger tribe immediately. As for the perfect battle arts, give me them later. There's hope." Chapter 834. Sky Tiger Tribe. The toddler was like a king, looking arrogant and disdainful. His aura shrouded the entire area. "You have done such a heartless thing. You will suffer retribution sooner or later." The tribesmen of Sky Tiger Tribe stared at him with hatred in their eyes. "Retribution? Let me tell you, when Qin Feiyang arrives, all of you will die." The toddler sneered, his face full of hostility. Everyone trembled. The Mu family was really vicious. In the eyes of the Mu family, Sky Tiger Tribe was just a pawn to lure Qin Feiyang here. "Don't be afraid. Soon you will even forget the taste of pain. This place will soon become a graveyard." The toddler licked his lips, his eyes were bloodshot, like a demon, extremely terrifying. "You're wrong. This is not their graveyard, it's your graveyard." Suddenly, a cold voice sounded. 3 figures descended from the sky above the tribe. They were Qin Feiyang, Yan Wei, and the mysterious madam. "You're courting death." The toddler's eyes turned cold as he looked up. Immediately, his pupils constricted, his gaze fixed on the mysterious madam. Just this kid? At the same time, Qin Feiyang was also looking at the toddler, his expression a little startled. "Don't underestimate him. I heard from my tribesmen that the battle saints of my tribe, including the high priest, died in his hands. I was also bewitched by his appearance. That's why I suffered a great loss. Yanwei whispered. What? Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. He clearly remembered that Yanwei once told him that there were hundreds of battle saints in Sky Tiger tribe, and the high priest was an 8-star battle saint. He did not expect that they would all die in the hands of this kid. It's you. Suddenly, the mysterious madam's voice sounded. You know him? Qin Feiyang asked. He's called Demon Child, cruel and bloodthirsty. Furthermore, he would often use this face to confuse others. As for his strength, he is very strong, second only to the Mu clan's great ancestor and second ancestor. The mysterious lady said. This, Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yanwei's body and mind were also trembling, and his whole body was cold. He knew that this person was strong, but he didn't expect him to be this strong. Who are you? Why do you keep going against my Mu clan? Demon Child frowned. What is the Mu family? The mysterious lady said. Just this one sentence was filled with an incomparable domineering aura. Boom. A terrifying aura rushed out from Demon Child's body. He gloomily stared at the mysterious madam. The bloody light flickered like a sea of blood. But at the same time, there was a trace of fear. You're also the pillar of the Mu family. If I were to kill you today, I'm sure the Mu clan's great ancestor and second ancestor would be very sad. The mysterious lady pursed her lips and smiled. However, this smile was like the smile of the Grim Reaper, causing one's hair to stand on end. Whoosh! She took a step forward. In an instant, she landed in front of Demon Child, raised her white jade-like hand, and reached for Demon Child's head. Demon Child's face changed and he quickly retreated. I'm here, so don't even think about leaving. The mysterious lady was domineering. A powerful pressure emerged, forcibly rolling up Demon Child and rushing into the sky. Bitch, don't go too far. Demon Child was furious. His whole body was covered in bloody light, and he slapped the mysterious lady with a backhand, his battle chi roaring in all directions. So what if I bully you? The mysterious lady smiled disdainfully, and slapped her palm without dodging. Boom. The moment the two palms collided, the void distorted, and the world lost its color. A destructive wave of air, like a tsunami, rushed in all directions. Fortunately, the two were fighting in the sky. Otherwise, this battle's fluctuations were enough to make Qin Feiyang and the others, as well as the entire Sky Tiger tribe, instantly turn into ashes. Puff! At the same time, Demon Child was directly sent flying by the mysterious lady's palm, and blood spurted from his mouth. On the other hand, the mysterious lady stood firmly at the top of the sky, without moving at all. Kid, you'd better go back and drink milk. The mysterious lady shook her head, her face full of contempt. You're courting death. When Demon Child heard this, it was as if someone had stepped on his tail, and he immediately jumped over the wall. Boom. Behind him, a huge figure emerged. It was a humanoid battle soul. Whether it was the appearance or the figure, it was exactly the same as the black-robed old woman's battle soul. Moreover, it was impossible to see the true appearance of the humanoid battle soul. However, the difference was that Demon Child's humanoid battle soul was blood-red all over, as if it was condensed from blood, exuding a monstrous murderous aura. Overconfident. That's exactly what people like you are. The mysterious lady glanced at Demon Child contemptuously, then looked at the humanoid battle soul, and a cold light burst out from her eyes. Whoosh! Suddenly, she raised her hand, and a bright beam of light gushed out from her fingertips, cutting through the sky, and blasted towards the battle soul with the power to destroy the world. Boom! With a thunderous sound, the battle soul was instantly annihilated. Poof! Demon Child spat out blood again, and his small body flew out like a meteorite, his face pale. So strong. Waves of shock surged in his heart. I'm not afraid even if it's your grand ancestor or second ancestor, let alone a baby who's still drinking milk. The mysterious lady was too strong. Not only did she frighten Demon Child, but even Qin Feiyang was afraid from the bottom of his heart. If this woman had not changed her mind, he would have become a dead soul long ago. And he really could not guess what this woman was thinking. On the one hand, she tried every means to frame him, and even almost killed him several times. On the other hand, she saved him repeatedly, and gave him so many perfect battle arts for free. Even the people around him, such as Fatso, Wolf King, and the two-winged snow eagle, also benefited a lot. Qin Feiyang was very confused by her attitude of seeming like an enemy but not an enemy, seeming like a friend but not a friend. He did not understand what this woman wanted to do. Whoosh. At the same time, Demon Child fled. That's right, he was running away. It could be described as running away in a panic. He was in an extremely sorry state. Trash. The mysterious lady sneered and stepped on the void. Her speed was faster than lightning, and in a few blinks of an eye, she was in front of Demon Child. Get lost! Demon Child roared. Blood roared all over his body, condensing into a blood-red giant python, revealing sharp fangs and pouncing towards the mysterious lady. This was a type of battle art. And according to Qin Feiyang's deduction, it was a perfect battle art. But in this regard, the mysterious lady's expression did not change, and she did not even use her battle art. Boom. She waved her jade-like hand in the air, and a wave of battle chi surged out, turning into a huge wave that slapped the giant python. Boom. Ah. Of course the giant python collapsed. Demon Child screamed and smashed into the glacier below like a blood-stained meteorite. Within a radius of dozens of miles, the ice peaks collapsed and the earth cracked, as if doomsday had arrived. Fortunately, when Demon Child escaped earlier, he had already left the sky above the Sky Tiger tribe. Otherwise he would not have fallen in the glacier but the Sky Tiger tribe. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang waved his hand and flew towards the glacier with Yan Wei. Very soon, the two landed beside the mysterious lady and scanned the area below. There was a huge pit below, and Demon Child was lying at the bottom of the pit, dying. His entire body was dripping with blood. Are you satisfied? The mysterious lady smiled faintly. Qin Feiyang and the mysterious lady looked at each other, and could not help but smile bitterly. Did they dare to say that they were not satisfied? Yan Wei bowed and said, "Thank you, my lady." "Why are you thanking me? If you want to thank someone, you should thank Qin Feiyang. If he hadn't agreed to my conditions, I wouldn't have cared about the life and death of your Sky Tiger tribe," the mysterious lady said coldly. When Qin Feiyang heard this, he shook his head helplessly. This favor was sold well, but he really dared not accept it. "Thank you." Yan Wei was very honest. He looked at Qin Feiyang gratefully, then swooped down and landed beside Demon Child, his eyes releasing a strong murderous intent. "Can you kill him?" He looked up at the mysterious lady. "Go ahead." The mysterious lady smiled faintly, and a powerful pressure emerged, firmly imprisoning Demon Child. Yan Wei immediately lowered his head, like a mad beast, firmly locking onto Demon Child. He said coldly, "You didn't expect to fall into our hands so soon, did you?" "I didn't expect it, but do you dare to kill me?" Demon Child sneered, his face full of disdain. "If it was in the past, I really wouldn't dare. But now, not only will I kill you, but I also want you to taste the feeling of living a life worse than death." At the thought of the death of his clansmen, the murderous intent in Yan Wei's heart grew stronger. Clang! He took out a dagger and stabbed it into Demon Child's lower abdomen without hesitation. Suddenly, blood splashed into the sky. Demon Child couldn't help but howl. The heart-wrenching pain made his face deform. "This stab is for me. And this stab is for the young man you killed. This stab is for his parents. This stab is for the high priest. This stab." Yan Wei seemed to have gone crazy, stabbing Demon Child one after another. Not long after, Demon Child's small body was like a sieve, full of holes. "A thing worse than an ant actually dares to hurt me. You wait, soon your heavenly tiger tribe will be retaliated against by my Mu family. At that time, I will kill everyone in your tribe. I want to suck their blood. I want them to not even have the chance to be ghosts. Just wait for despair." Demon Child grinned again and again, his words carrying an astonishing murderous aura. "You still dare to be arrogant. You like to suck blood, don't you? Well, now I will let you bleed to death." Yan Wei also became fierce, stabbing Demon Child's heart with a knife. "Ah!" Demon Child howled miserably, the pain was unbearable. "Does this feel good?" Is it better than drinking other people's blood? Then I'll make you feel better. Yanwei smiled sinisterly, and the bloody dagger in his hand once again stabbed into Demon Child's heart. It wasn't until the Demon Child's heart was chopped into pieces that Yanwei stopped. For someone who had reached the War King, a broken heart was no longer fatal. So, Demon Child was still alive and well. Next, Yanwei grabbed Demon Child's neck again and laughed sinisterly. Tell me now, is it good? Of course it's good. Continue, little reptile. Do you think this little trick can make me beg for mercy? You're too naive. Chapter 835. Yanwei frowned and looked at Qin Feiyang. Use the slave seal to control him first, then deal with him later. Qin Feiyang's face changed, but it was too late to scold him. He hurriedly looked at the mysterious lady. At the same time, hearing Yanwei's words, the mysterious lady frowned and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang could clearly see a trace of astonishment and a hint of coldness in the mysterious madam's eyes. How do you know the slave seal? The mysterious lady asked. Qin Feiyang was quite angry. Regarding the slave seal, he should have told Yanwei in advance. He smiled without batting an eyelid. I was lucky. I obtained the cultivation method of the slave seal by chance. Really? Then I'm curious. The slave seal is a secret technique that I created myself. Where did you get it? The mysterious lady said. Self-created. Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat. If the slave seal was obtained by the mysterious lady by chance or taught by someone else, he could still have an excuse. But he didn't expect that the mysterious lady created it herself. How could he explain this? The mysterious lady looked at him deeply and said lightly, Anyway, it's not very important. If you don't want to answer, then forget it. Qin Feiyang was surprised. Her self-created secret technique was stolen, and she didn't pursue the matter? When did this woman become so magnanimous? This wasn't her style. Before Qin Feiyang could react, the mysterious lady took out 2 jade slips and threw them to Qin Feiyang. Then she turned and flew towards the Sky Tiger tribe. Qin Feiyang caught the 2 jade slips with a trace of suspicion in his eyes. But when he focused his mind on the 2 jade slips, his eyes suddenly trembled slightly. These 2 jade slips were the cultivation methods for 2 types of perfect battle arts. He froze. He thought that the mysterious lady might not give him these 2 battle arts because of the slave seal. Who would have thought that she would be so straightforward? Where are you going? After coming back to his senses, Qin Feiyang hurriedly raised his head and looked at the back of the mysterious madam. Whether the demon child is dead or not, the Mu family will not let the Sky Tiger tribe go, so I must take them away, the mysterious lady said without turning her head. Where are you taking them? Qin Feiyang frowned. The mysterious lady said. A place that the Mu family can't find. Of course, you can't find it either. My lord, thank you, but please don't hurt them. Yanwei was also a little anxious. This woman was too fickle. There was no telling what she would do in the future. The mysterious madam said. Whether or not to harm them is entirely up to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang felt helpless. The meaning of his words was very clear. If he could successfully snatch the 5-colored crystal stone, this woman would not harm Yanwei's clansmen. On the contrary, if he failed, no one in the Sky Tiger tribe would be able to survive. In other words, the millions of people in the Sky Tiger tribe were the bargaining chips used by the mysterious madam to threaten him. Qin Feiyang asked, Then how do I contact you? You don't need to contact me. When you successfully get the 5-colored crystal stone, I will naturally appear. After the mysterious madam finished speaking, she disappeared from the sight of the two. I'll go take a look. Yanwei was very worried. He said something to Qin Feiyang and chased after the mysterious madam. 5-colored crystal stone. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed slightly and once again sank his mind into the 2 jade slips. 2 pieces of information poured into his mind. Huh. Qin Feiyang's eyes were immediately filled with a touch of surprise. 2 battle arts. One is called the Heavenly Demon 9 Steps, which is an auxiliary battle art. The other is called the Fury of the Mad God, which is a killing battle art. What surprised Qin Feiyang was this fury of the mad god. If he remembered correctly, the white-eyed wolf's current battle art seems to be called the Fury of the Mad God. There was only one word missing. He looked at it seriously. He wanted to see what other advantages this Fury of the Mad God had compared to the Fury of the Mad God, apart from the grade. In the end, he found that this Fury of the Mad God was actually a battle art specialized in beasts. Moreover, it had the same effect as the Fury of the Mad God, which was to increase one's combat power through transformation. Could it be that this is specially prepared for the white-eyed wolf? Qin Feiyang was a little stunned. Then, he calmed down again and looked at the heavenly demon 9 steps. He didn't know if he didn't look, but when he looked at it, he was shocked. The heavenly demon 9 steps turned out to be a battle art with both auxiliary and killing battle arts. In other words, not only can it increase one's speed, but it also has a terrifying lethality. To put it simply, as long as one mastered the heavenly demon 9 steps, it was equivalent to mastering an auxiliary battle art and a killing battle art at the same time. Qin Feiyang was excited. Such a battle art was as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. It was very rare. He didn't expect that the mysterious madam would give him such a precious battle art. In the future he would undoubtedly have another trump card. But suddenly, he lowered his head and frowned. He really wanted the heavenly demon 9 steps, but he thought of Yen Wei. This time, the heavenly tiger tribe suffered a disaster all because of him, which made him feel a little guilty. Moreover, Yen Wei was now following him, and it was also necessary to strengthen Yen Wei's strength. Just give it to him. Qin Feiyang let out a long breath, temporarily put away the 2 jade slips, and landed beside the demon child. The demon child was still lying in a pool of blood, seriously injured and dying. His cultivation base was destroyed, and he was no longer a threat to him. Qin Feiyang looked down at him and said lightly, "You should know that others are afraid of your Mu family, but I am not." "What do you want to say?" The demon child looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang said, "Tell me, why did you lure me to the Forgotten Continent? Aren't you very smart? Guess it yourself." The demon child joked. Qin Feiyang's eyes were cold, and he grabbed the demon child's neck, twisted it up, and said in a deep voice, "You have to know, if I want to kill you, I will not have any scruples. I know that you, Qin Feiyang, are a person who is not afraid of anything. But in this world, you are not the only one who is not afraid of death." The demon child sneered, and his contempt was undisguised. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows, and his expression calmed down a lot. He said with a faint smile, "I'm sure I've found out some details about your Mu family. Tell me about it." The demon child looked at Qin Feiyang playfully. "Then please listen carefully. Your Mu family is actually the descendant of Mu Tianyang," Qin Feiyang said, and then he stared at the demon child's expression, not letting go of any details. But in the end he was disappointed. The demon child looked confused. It seems that the guess that the Mu family is the descendant of Mu Tianyang is not valid. Qin Feiyang muttered. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and his hands began to form seals. Soon, a mark appeared and sank into the top of the demon child's head. "Ah!" The demon child suddenly held his head and howled in pain, roaring, "What did you do to me?" Qin Feiyang said, "Didn't you hear it just now? The seal of slavery." The demon child endured the severe pain and said gloomily, "What is the seal of slavery?" "It controls people's souls. To put it simply, as long as the seal of slavery is formed, you will be my servant in the future," Qin Feiyang said. Damn it! The demon child was furious. He suddenly got up and rushed towards Qin Feiyang with a ferocious face. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sneered. If the demon child's cultivation was still there, he would not even dare to get close. But now this little brat was just a cripple. It would be as easy as playing with mud to deal with him. Just as the demon child approached, Qin Feiyang raised his arm and slapped him directly. Smack! This slap landed solidly on the demon child's little face. He was slapped away on the spot, blood spurting out. A bright red palm print appeared on his face. With a bang he hit another stone. He saw stars and his body seemed to be falling apart. The soreness was unbearable. But he seemed to be numb. He got up awkwardly and leaned his back against the stone. Like a beast, he stared at Qin Feiyang. If eyes could kill, Qin Feiyang would have died many times over. What's wrong? Not convinced. Qin Feiyang joked. If it weren't for that stinky woman, would you dare to be so arrogant in front of me? The demon child said angrily. What a joke. I dare to scold your great ancestor and second ancestor, let alone a little brat like you. Not convinced, right? Come on, beat me up. I'm just asking for a beating. Qin Feiyang hooked his finger, full of provocation. The demon child exploded with anger. To think that he, a dignified war emperor, had fallen to this point. How sad. I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Tell me, what is your Mu family's conspiracy? Qin Feiyang's face darkened. If you have the ability, don't ask others. Find out for yourself. The demon child sneered. Qin Feiyang immediately moved his mind. The demon child held his head again and screamed in pain. Are you going to say it or not? Qin Feiyang shouted. Do you think that if you control me, I will be at your mercy? Stop dreaming. The demon child roared, his twisted face full of ridicule. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang sighed deeply. This person's temper was too strong. Even if he controlled his soul, it was useless. And such a person certainly couldn't be kept by his side. Without hesitation, he directly erased the demon child's soul. Bang! At that moment, the demon child stopped screaming and fell to the ground dead. Whoosh! At this time, Yan Wei ran over and stopped beside Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang turned to look at him and asked, How is it? I took them all away. Yan Wei nodded, but there was still a trace of worry between his eyebrows. Don't worry. Although that woman is hateful, she still keeps her word. She won't hurt your people. She definitely won't. Qin Feiyang patted him on the shoulder and comforted him with a smile. Yan Wei nodded, glanced at the demon child, frowned and said, Why did you kill him? Keeping him will only be a threat. It's better to kill him, Qin Feiyang said. That's too easy for him. Yan Wei snorted coldly. Then what else do you want? Torture him. It's meaningless. By the way, do you have a perfect battle art? Qin Feiyang said. No. Yan Wei shook his head. Then I'll give you the heavenly demon 9 steps. Qin Feiyang took out a jade slip and handed it to Yan Wei. This won't do. It's too precious. Yan Wei hurriedly waved his hand. Take it. It's a little compensation for you. Qin Feiyang smiled and stuffed the jade slip into Yan Wei's hands. Then he sent the fury of the mad god to the castle for the white-eyed wolf to cultivate. Yan Wei checked the jade slip and looked quite excited. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Thank you. We're all on the same side. Why are you being so polite? By the way, did you ask that woman for the coordinates of the 9th area? Qin Feiyang laughed. Coordinates? Yan Wei was taken aback and said awkwardly, I'm sorry, I didn't think of that at all. It's okay. We'll fly there. Anyway, with you here, it won't take much time. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. And Yan Wei nodded, put away the jade slip, sat cross-legged, and focused on repairing his sea of qi. Chapter 836. After several hours of traveling, Qin Feiyang suddenly noticed that the temperature was gradually rising. Moreover, the snow on the mountains below was getting less and less. In some places, green vegetation could be clearly seen. Yan Wei said, The temperature is rising, which means that we are about to reach the Flame Mountain Range. Flame Mountain Range? Qin Feiyang was doubtful. The Flame Mountain Range is located between the 8th and 9th regions. It is shrouded in flames all year round, and the temperature is very high. Therefore, the surroundings of the Flame Mountain Range will also be affected. Yan Wei explained. Flames? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yan Wei said, Those flames are very magical. Water can't extinguish them, and they will never be extinguished. After a while, a vast mountain range entered Qin Feiyang's line of sight. Sure enough, as Yan Wei said, it was a mountain range burning with flames. Moreover, the fire was extraordinarily big. Waves of fire were like tsunamis in the sea, covering the sky and earth. The mountain peaks that emerged from the waves of fire were also scarlet red. Swish! The two stopped above the edge of the Flame Mountain range. The temperature here was estimated to be 80 to 90 degrees Celsius. If a mortal came here, they would definitely die in a few breaths. Yanwei said, I have entered this Flame Mountain range before. What's inside? Qin Feiyang asked. Yanwei said, magma, ferocious beasts, and nothing else. Qin Feiyang said, how strong are the beasts? Yanwei said, basically, they are all sacred beasts. Qin Feiyang's heart sank. Don't worry, except for the Beast Emperor in the central region, the other sacred beasts are no match for me, Yanwei said with a smile. I see. Qin Feiyang breathed a sigh of relief and asked, what kind of beast is the Beast Emperor in the central region? What is its cultivation level? I'm not too sure. I remember that year, when I killed my way to the central region, I suddenly sensed the aura of a beast ahead. At that time, my cultivation level was not weak either. I was a 6-star battle saint. However, the aura of that ferocious beast caused me to feel fear and terror. I felt as if a god of death was lurking before us. At that time, I immediately escaped from the blazing mountain range. Thus, I do not know what that ferocious beast looked like. I'm not sure about his exact cultivation either. Yanwei said. After hearing this, Qin Feiyang's pupils contracted. Just this aura alone was able to scare away Yanwei, a 6-star battle saint. How strong was this aura? 7-star? 8-star? Or even a 9-star battle saint? After so many years, although I have already become an 8-star battle saint, its strength must have increased as well. So when we reach the central region, it's better to be careful. Yanwei said. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, then let's go. As long as it's not an emperor beast, it won't be a threat to us. So confident. Yanwei stared at him blankly. Suddenly, a wry smile crept onto his face. The young man in front of him had 2 sacred artifacts, a mysterious Chang Shui, and an ancient castle. He indeed had the right to be confident. Phew. Taking a deep breath, Yanwei led Qin Feiyang into the blazing mountain range at lightning speed. Roar. As soon as they entered the blazing mountain range, a huge ferocious beast roared out from the flames below. It was a male lion that was dozens of meters long. However, it was different from other lions. Its entire body was covered in fur that was as red as fire. Its 2 millstone-sized eyeballs also seemed to be cast from magma. Most importantly, it had 2 fiery red wings on its back. Its cultivation was not weak either. It was a 1-star battle saint. The blazing lion blocked in front of the 2, its eyes flashing fiercely. This. Qin Feiyang looked rather stunned. What's wrong? Yanwei looked at him in confusion. This is a relic from 10,000 years ago, called the fire-winged lion. The pair of wings on its back can greatly increase its speed, Qin Feiyang said. A relic from 10,000 years ago? Yanwei was stunned. In the Forgotten Continent, the fire-winged lion may be very common, but in the place where I live, it's very rare and almost extinct, Qin Feiyang said. So it's like that. Yanwei suddenly understood and laughed. Then do you want to catch one and bring it back? Bring it back? Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. The white-eyed wolf and the others had already given him a headache. If another one came, would he still have a peaceful life? Forget it. He didn't want to do this kind of troublesome thing a second time. Looking at Qin Feiyang's expression, Yanwei couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. Although he didn't get along with everyone for long, he had some understanding of the characters of Wolf King and the other beasts. All of them were restless. To be honest, he still admired Qin Feiyang for being able to tolerate so many beasts by his side. If it were him, he would have chased them away. Roar. The fire-winged lion glanced at the 2 of them and suddenly roared. It spread its wings and pounced toward the 2 of them with a terrifying saint aura. Kill it? Yanwei asked. Qin Feiyang said. Forget it, just scare it away. Boom. Immediately, Yanwei's body shook, and the aura of an 8-star battle saint surged out. The fire-winged lion's gaze trembled and immediately fled, diving into the fire below and disappearing. Whoosh. The 2 of them continued on their way. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, Yan Wei didn't restrain his saint aura. At the same time, in the 8th district, above the Sky Tiger tribe, whoosh, two figures appeared out of thin air. They were two old men. One was in purple, with a ruddy complexion and white hair. The other was in white, with a celestial aura. If Qin Feiyang was here, he would definitely recognize them at a glance. They were the Mu family's great ancestor and second ancestor. Didn't the family head say that the little devil is here? Why don't I see him? The old man in purple scanned the Sky Tiger tribe and a trace of suspicion crept into his eyes. No. Not only is the little devil not here, the people of the Sky Tiger tribe have all disappeared. The old man in white's eyes darkened. Disappeared? The old man in purple frowned and swooped down at lightning speed. He entered the Sky Tiger tribe and searched carefully. A moment later, he rushed up to the sky and landed beside the old man in white. He said in a low voice, "There really isn't a single person here. How could this be?" The old man in white looked at the void and said, "Do you feel that there is a remnant of a battle in the void?" The old man in purple was stunned. He closed his eyes and carefully sensed. When he opened his eyes again, there was a piercing murderous intent in his eyes. The old man in white said, "There are obvious traces of the glacier over there. Let's go and take a look." Whoosh! The two of them turned into streaks of light and flew towards the broken glacier. At the same time, an uneasy premonition rose in their hearts. Very soon, the two of them arrived above the glacier. The remnant battle energy here is even more obvious. One of the auras belongs to the little devil. Big brother, do you think something bad happened to the little brat? The old man in purple looked at the old man in white nervously. The old man in white's gaze trembled and he said angrily, "Don't talk nonsense. Although the little devil is not as strong as us, even in the Central Divine Kingdom, I don't think many people can kill him." Yes. The old man in purple nodded repeatedly and said, "The little devil is definitely still alive. I'll send him a message right away." With that said, he took out an image crystal. At the same time, the old man in white also lowered his head and scanned the glacier below carefully. Suddenly, his gaze was fixed on the huge pit. Swoosh! The next moment, the old man in white landed at the bottom of the huge pit. He waved his sleeves and with a gust of wind, the snowflakes on the ground flew everywhere. A child covered in blood entered his line of sight. How could this be? The old man in white's expression changed drastically, and he staggered a few steps back. His old face was full of disbelief. Because this child was the little devil they were looking for, demon child. Little devil. The old man in purple standing high in the sky also saw demon child and quickly rushed down to check on him. Dead. At that moment, the old man in purple also collapsed on the ground in grief. Who is it? Suddenly, the old man in purple roared to the sky, his hair standing on end as his aura erupted. Boom. Crack. With a loud sound, everything within a radius of hundreds of miles turned into ashes in an instant. The old man in white closed his eyes in pain. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and pondered for a moment. Suddenly he opened his eyes and said, "I know who it is." "Oh," the old man in purple said. "The remnant battle energy and the aura of that woman should be her. If I'm not wrong, it must be Yan Wei and Qin Feiyang who first found out that the little devil was in the Sky Tiger tribe. Then they went to find this woman for help and moved the people of the Sky Tiger tribe. Otherwise, the people of this tribe wouldn't have all disappeared." The old man in white said, "Damn it, big brother, you must kill them and avenge the little devil." The old man in purple roared, "Don't worry, they definitely can't run away. I guess that Qin Feiyang should have gone to the Central Divine Kingdom, and there is only one entrance to the Central Divine Kingdom. I'll bring the little devil back to bury him. You go to the entrance of the 9th area immediately and block them." The old man in white said. The old man in purple said, "What if Qin Feiyang didn't go to the Central Divine Kingdom? I've also considered this point. When I return to the clan, I'll immediately ask the patriarch to send people to conduct a carpet search of the 9 areas. In short, this time, If I don't catch this little bastard, I swear I'm not human, the old man in white said gloomily. After saying that, he opened a portal and strode away. Qin Feiyang. Just you wait, when you're no longer useful, I'll personally chop you into pieces. Chapter 837. 5 days later. The Flame Mountain Range. With Yan Wei, an 8-star battle saint, Qin Feiyang entered the central area unimpeded. After entering the central area, Yan Wei's expression became serious. After advancing for a distance, he turned to Qin Feiyang and asked, "Do you want to stop and prepare?" "No need." Qin Feiyang shook his head. But the next moment, he raised his eyebrows slightly and looked forward. All of a sudden, he felt that something in front of him seemed to be calling him, giving him an inexplicable sense of familiarity. How could this be? He muttered to himself. "What's wrong?" Yan Wei looked at him suspiciously. "Nothing." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and didn't think too much about it. He just thought that it was an illusion. The two of them continued to advance. However, Yan Wei obviously slowed down and his expression was full of vigilance. The surprise on Qin Feiyang's face became more and more intense. As they went deeper and deeper, the inexplicable sense of familiarity didn't disappear. Instead, it became stronger. This was obviously no longer an illusion. But why was it like this? One had to know that it was his first time entering the Flame Mountain Range. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be anything that could make him feel familiar. Look. Suddenly, Yan Wei seemed to have realized something. He suddenly braked and stopped in the void. He raised his hand and pointed to the sky. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He looked up and his eyes were full of surprise. He saw that in the distant sky, there were suddenly patches of dark clouds emerging. As soon as the dark clouds appeared, they spread rapidly in all directions like a plague. In less than 5 breaths, the sky within a radius of dozens of miles became pitch black. What's going on? The two of them were dumbfounded. The dark clouds rolled and surged in the sky. Darkness covered the earth, making everything look extremely dim. But the strange thing was that this place was unusually quiet at this moment. Not only was there no wind, even the sound of insects was muffled. It was so quiet that it was frightening. Yan Wei gulped and transmitted his voice. "We can't go any further." Qin Feiyang remained silent. Frankly speaking, this strange phenomenon made him a little scared. However, the sense of intimacy that came from the depths of his heart made him impatient to go and take a look. "Don't be afraid. Let's continue. If we really encounter any danger, we can just hide in the castle." After much hesitation, Qin Feiyang finally decided to take a look. Yan Wei raised his eyebrows and pondered for a moment before he suddenly gritted his teeth and nodded. "All right, I'll listen to you." Whoosh. However, just as the two of them took a step forward, a beam of light shot over from the distant void like a bolt of lightning. "Someone's here." Qin Feiyang's pupils shrank and he hurriedly took out 2 illusory form pills. Yan Wei took one and turned into a white-haired old man. Qin Feiyang also took one and changed his appearance into a thin blue-haired young man. Now not only the 9 regions, but also the people of the Central Divine Kingdom knew him. Moreover, the Pill Pagoda and the Mu family were also looking for him. Therefore, in order to avoid some unnecessary trouble, it was better to change his appearance. After a few breaths, the light stopped in the void in front of Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei. This person was about 1.8 meters tall and thin. He wore a white robe that was spotless, but his face was covered by a black mask. His face could not be seen clearly. However, from his body shape and eyes, it was not difficult to tell that this was a man. Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei sized up this uninvited guest. Suddenly, Yan Wei took a step forward and protected Qin Feiyang behind him. He transmitted his voice. "He's very strong. I can't see through his cultivation." "What?" Qin Feiyang was shocked. Yan Wei was an 8-star battle saint. If even he could not see through his cultivation, didn't it mean that this person in front of him was at least a 9-star battle saint or even higher? At the same time, the masked man was also observing Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei. His black gem-like eyes were suffused with a clear cold light. "Who are you?" Suddenly, the masked man asked. His voice was slightly hoarse and his tone was somewhat cold. How should I answer? Yan Wei asked secretly. Qin Feiyang said. Just say that we are master and disciple. Yan Wei's eyes flashed. He cupped his hands and smiled at the masked man. I'm Wei Yan. Nice to meet you, brother. Wei Yan. The masked man pondered and suddenly looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang immediately shrank his neck and hid behind Yan Wei. He did not dare to raise his head, showing a very timid look. This is my disciple Lin Fan. He's a little timid. Please don't mind him. Yan Wei hurriedly said. He then turned to Qin Feiyang and shouted with a straight face, Lin Fan, hurry up and salute this senior. Qin Feiyang's body trembled. He slowly walked out from behind Yan Wei and said timidly, Junior Lin Fan greet senior. Seeing this, a trace of disdain appeared in the masked man's eyes. He ignored Qin Feiyang and looked at Yan Wei. Where are you from? What's your purpose in entering the Flame Mountain Range? Yan Wei said, We are rogue cultivators in the 8th district. We want to go to the 9th district. Rogue cultivators? The masked man was surprised. He could see through Yan Wei's cultivation at a glance. It was much more difficult for a rogue cultivator to cultivate to an 8-star battle saint than others. It seemed that this pair of master and disciple were quite talented. The masked man asked, Then do you know where this place is? Yan Wei shook his head and said, It's our first time entering the Flame Mountain Range, so we're not sure. Is that so? The masked man asked, his eyes flashing with a fierce light. Yes. Yan Wei hurriedly nodded. I don't think you have the guts to lie. The masked man smiled disdainfully and said, This is the central district of the Flame Mountain Range. There is a beast emperor here with terrifying strength. I advise you to take a detour. Yan Wei was shocked. How strong? Very strong. Anyway, you're no match for it. The masked man said coldly. This? Yan Wei revealed a very surprised look. At the same time, Qin Feiyang, who lowered his head and remained silent, also had a trace of suspicion in his eyes. Why did this man advise them to take a detour? Kind. He would not believe that there was such a good person in the world. Could it be, suddenly? His eyes flashed. Could it be related to the dark clouds? Faster than words could tell. Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang immediately sent a sound transmission to Yan Wei. Tell him that we don't want to take a detour. All right. Yan Wei secretly replied, looked at the masked man and said, Thank you for your kindness, brother, but we have already been in the Flame Mountain Range for 2 months. If we take a detour now, we will definitely waste a lot of time, so, bang. However, without waiting for Yan Wei to finish speaking, the masked man suddenly released a terrifying aura. Yan Wei's eyes trembled, and hurriedly said, Brother, what do you mean by this? Since you don't want to take a detour, then I can only send you to hell. The masked man said coldly. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he sent a sound transmission. Quickly tell him that we'll take a detour. Hearing this, Yan Wei was quite angry. One moment he said that he didn't want to take a detour, and the next moment he said that he wanted to take a detour. What was this kid thinking? Bang. The masked man did not say any more nonsense. That terrifying aura turned into an invisible giant wave, pouncing towards Qin Feiyang. Don't. We'll take a detour right away. Yan Wei quivered, hurriedly rolled up Qin Feiyang, turned around and rushed to the left. The masked man did not chase, but coldly stared at the backs of the two. Humph, you don't know what you're talking about. Until Qin Feiyang disappeared, the masked man snorted disdainfully, withdrew his gaze, turned around and flew into the depths. At the same time, above a crimson giant peak, Qin Feiyang swept past. Qin Feiyang turned his head and looked behind. Seeing that the masked man did not follow, he stretched out his hand and said, Stop. What's wrong? Yan Wei slammed on the brakes, stopped in the void, and turned his head to look at Qin Feiyang in confusion. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile, I don't really plan to take a detour. Yan Wei was slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, Then what do you want to do? How's that person's strength? Qin Feiyang did not answer but asked instead. Yan Wei said in a low voice, Very strong. According to my judgment, he should be a battle emperor. Yes. Although he did not release his emperor's aura, judging from his aura, his cultivation is definitely above a battle saint. Let me ask you again, why would a battle emperor be in the central area of the Flame Mountain range? And why would he stop us from moving forward? Qin Feiyang said. Why? Yan Wei asked. Very simple. There must be some rare treasure in the depths of the mountain range. Qin Feiyang said, his eyes shining. Rare treasure? Yan Wei's eyes trembled and said, Are you sure? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, Actually, just now, I asked you to say that we don't want to take a detour, because I wanted to see his reaction. So that's how it is. Yan Wei came to a realization, and shook his head with a smile. You're really a little fox, but isn't it too presumptuous to be sure that there's a rare treasure in the depths of the mountain range? No. There are traces that can be traced. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Traceable? Yan Wei was stunned. Look, why are there suddenly dark clouds in the sky? I've read some ancient books, and there are some related records. Wherever a rare treasure is born, there will be a strange phenomenon. Qin Feiyang said. Really? Yan Wei was still skeptical. Qin Feiyang was very helpless as he said. Hearsay may be false, but seeing is believing. Let's go and take a look. Okay. If there's really a rare treasure, then this trip is worth the risk. Yan Wei nodded, withdrew his aura, and led Qin Feiyang into the sea of fire below. The waves of fire surged and instantly swallowed the two. However, these flames were only ordinary flames. One of them was an 8-star war saint, while the other was an 8-star war master. Ordinary flames couldn't hurt them at all. Beneath the flames was all magma, bubbling and surging with heat waves. The two of them flew close to the magma, restraining their auras to the extreme. About a few hundred breaths passed. Qin Feiyang suddenly sensed more than 10 auras high up in the sky in front of them. These auras were all extremely powerful. Furthermore, there was one aura that the two of them were very familiar with. It was the masked man. Could it be that he's not the only one? Yan Wei was bewildered. Don't make a sound. Qin Feiyang made a silent gesture and slowly rose into the air. However, he did not leave the sea of fire and only stuck out half of his head. Immediately, he saw many figures standing upright in the air above him. There were a total of 15 people, and their auras were all unfathomable. Moreover, every one of them wore a black mask on their faces, making them look extremely mysterious. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.